got that.
It's one of the more interesting nicknames we've seen on the MSPT.
I know Wheeler is very proud of his four daughters as well. He's got.
He had good hands.
This is his first MSPT cash, and Bardsley picking up
7 fold.
pocket jacks. Let's see what else we got.
8 fold.
Not a lot else brewing,
9.
and Bardsley's in the big blind, so see if he can get any action leading up to his turn.
I'm not
Are we
so
gonna
sure
get-
he will. He might get a walk.
Every fold.
We can't have a walk at the final table. That's not acceptable.
4 fold.
Can I kind of draw the guy into me?
And see, Wanty knows better. He's not going to give him a walk.
5 12 30.
So he's going to get at least that extra 15,000.
Yep, I think Bardsley's going to pop it here. And I would expect that if he does raise, Wanty will fold, seeing as he's playing this hand out of position.
If I was Bardsley here, I'd raise it just enough to try to entice your opponent to come over the top. That's too much. If I were him, I would have made it something like 85, 80,000, but probably the same result either way.
Yep, I think so. So Nils Bardsley picking up another pot. Bardsley has a pretty great score to his name as well. He's got 57K at the WSOP Crazy Eights in 2016. And it's a gutsy move here, but he says that he's a Patriots fan and he hopes they kick Denver's ass.
Yeah, I mean, so far that's exactly what's happening.
How are you calling me with 9 high?
This is his second MSPT cash.
I had a feeling the next 3 cards off the deck were.
Yeah, but you know your first instructions to your guests are no drinks or food on the table.
Right.
I did it already. Did I have to leave him there?
No.
Shaping up right here, you can see
8
Worden with pocket kings.
Manetti with $1 million stack, and Worden's got just shy of $1 million as well. Mets 1.2, one of your chip leaders.
You got 4 pocket pairs
Geffen-
and 2 big aces here.
Well, Geffen, this is going to be a little bit of a cooler for Geffen because he has to get it in with his stack and 9s at this point. But there's going to be significant action ahead of him, so we'll see how this plays out.
1 raises. 200,000.
Wow. 4 pocket pairs and an ace-jack in the big blind. Bardsley with ace-10 in the small
and
blind.
Geffen just released those pocket 9s. I mean, what more are you waiting for? You have, I don't know how many big blinds he has, 6 big blinds, something like that.
Yeah, that's a snap jam with that. I mean, you're
7
getting it in with 9s and a fist pump with that stack. So what I thought was going to be pretty exciting.
8 calls.
Yeah, it's not shaping up that way. If it comes some low cards here,
So
then he might commit some more chips here. Let's see what comes
There's
down.
some paint.
8 checks.
So Worden got all of it with the set of kings.
1 check.
Ooh, wow, slaps the table with authority.
Turn.
And there,
Unfortunately,
Geffen right now is thinking, what did I do? I had 9s, I had pocket 9s.
yeah. Well, Geffen would have doubled up here at this point.
No,
Oh, that's
he
true.
busted
Yeah, he would have
unless-
busted.
yeah,
That's
he-
right. Worden's got a set of kings sitting there. Of course, at this point, Geffen doesn't know that. That's why he looks a little flustered.
8 fold.
I turned a set of 9s.
So don't tell everybody you're folding 9s with less than 10 bigs.
Yeah. There's been 2 situations here with Geffen with the big slick and the pocket 9s there where I think most every poker player I know gets it in, but he doesn't. Now he's he's down to 260 but still alive.
Still
8
in the
bigs.
tournament, yeah. John Worden out of Fisher, Minnesota. He's also at a 30K cash. He's a farmer.
Yeah, right.
His first MSPT cash.
The Broncos updates.
So we've got a Minnesota player. We've got a Michigan player here at this Colorado final table.
Ah, here we go again with some big hands.
Look how easy it is to get big hands.
Another pocket pair from Minetti.
Sevens are going around.
Worden with the sevens. We got
10 folds.
Geffen with a ace queen suited. I
mean,
hope he gets it in here.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's been just hit by the deck here to start this final table. We're just a few hands in, and he's already picked up nines and ace queen and
One
ace
raises
king.
75,000. 2 folds.
There they go.
3 is all in. 4 folds.
So this time he's going to get it in there with the ace queen of hearts.
7 folds. 8 folds.
180,000 more to Worden. He's got the chips to do it.
Yeah, Worden should make the call here. Of course, if he was paying attention, he knows Geffen just folded nines pre-flop.
Wow, he's just gonna let it go. It was 6 big blinds.
Yeah,
6 big blinds to call there, and you have 1.2 million.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, this is some pretty tight play we're seeing here at this final table, and it's as I predicted just a few minutes ago. These Colorado tables do play pretty tight.
I only hit my cards when I fold them.
Question is, did you have the 4 of hearts?
If this was Carl Caro Denudo, who has won this event before, we'd probably be down to 3 players already, and he'd have a 17-1 chip lead on the other 2 opponents.
Yeah, you did take a little one of his
What are the next blinds?
Queen's good enough.
61
I don't need
This
to-
would be a good. That hand is a prime example of when people don't want to take shots or risks. You know, eventually the structure catches up because nobody busts, and then they get short, and then they get upset that they have to start flipping.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why at some point it's.
That's why we have blinds.
Yeah, that's why you have blinds.
To
And
induce
it
action.
would behoove one of the players to realize how tight everybody's playing and say, okay, I'm going to kick it into high gear. And
And you can see with the number of big hands that have gone around in the first 4 hands, we could have easily lost 2 players by now. But we haven't, so the blinds will keep going up and they'll get a little bit more shallow. We'll see if that trend continues here at Golden Gates
5
Casino.
raises 75,000. 6 folds.
Wanty with the 6s is going to pop it to 75K.
Folds. 9 folds.
And see, I have a theory as to why they play so tight, and that's because there's a lot of tournaments here at Blackhawk. We come here twice a year. We had a regional event last weekend, and in a lot of these events, these players can get to the final table, get down to 6 players, 7 players, and end up chopping it. But that is not the case in this event, the MSBT. No chops allowed in our broadcast main events. So they actually have to play it out, play down to a winner. So going in with that kind of chop mentality, if you will, which I think has been ingrained in a lot of players here, it's not good. Not much going in this hand for holdings.
1 folds.
It is interesting, Chad, to see, you and I travel around the country quite a bit to do these main event final table broadcasts. It feels like weekly. We run about 30 events a year. And it's interesting to see the different styles of play depending on the state that we're in. Because it does change.
8 raises 80,000.
You know what's interesting too, Chad? In Colorado, and I don't know if this impacts, they do have a ton of big tournaments here in Colorado, but I don't know if the style of play at all is impacted by the fact that it's primarily a limit cash game
9
state.
balls.
I mean, it's a $100 max bet, so they do play spread games from 2 to 100. But and that was just the last couple of years, I think, that they even went up to a $100 max bet. So many of the games, much like Minnesota, are limit games, and so I don't know if that makes them play a different style. It could very well be part of the reason that these final tables aren't in all. It's difficult to bust people here, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
To
Minetti,
their credit, it's hard to get these guys out.
and Minetti here raises the button with Queen Jack and flops an open ender. Checks to him. He's going to put in a continuation bet. More than likely
110,000.
take down the pot. Cuniff taking about 10 seconds too long to fold his hand. And Manetti gonna win that pot.
Brian Molesky, Chad Holloway here at Golden Gates Casino in Black Hawk, Colorado.
And your big blind.
We're gonna have fun after.
It's always beautiful to come up here. If you haven't been up to Black Hawk,
It's the
it's,
quietest I've ever been for 20 minutes.
it's an hour drive through the mountains, and then all of a sudden, bam, you've got 100 casinos like, lit up. It's awesome.
It's like in a gulch, like carved into the middle of a mountain. I love it here. It reminds me of the Old West, you know, when people came out here mining for gold.
4 folds.
Now we got players here looking to make their fortune
5 folds.
in a different way.
7 folds. 8 folds.
But if you're not from here, I will say that the altitude is difficult to adjust to.
I don't know, we're 8,000, 8,500 feet up, something like that. The air is a lot thinner. It dries out. You're drinking waters all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I get a bloody nose from time to time or two, and it definitely takes getting used to.
For the next 25 minutes.
413 runners. We are down to the final table of 10. All guaranteed 6,400, but of course chasing the 88K. Nobody in the danger zone here. The shortest stack is 13 bigs.
We'd include you. Don't
Listen,
we?
I wouldn't chop a blind with this guy or this guy. I mean, I wouldn't chop $15 with him.
You didn't even pick up my bag for me.
Jason's a Salem, Oregon boy, and that's where I was born and raised.
3 folds. 4 folds. 5 folds. 6 folds. 7 folds.
I was actually born in the old hospital, which is now the mental hospital.
8
Folds to Manetti here with a pocket 8s.
We used to have a newspaper route.
He pops it up.
10 folds.
Our bike server into the tunnels that used to be unlocked.
Right.
And I wrote a family history recently, and did a bunch of family history, and one of my stories is one road under the sheep's nest.
1 call,
yeah.
We rode
75,000.
down in there, and the crazy people that lived there.
2 folds.
I mean, they were not
2 players
living
still
in a
flop.
house, they were living in the tunnel. And we were right down there.
So we got a coin flip here. Of course, these players don't know that.
Amazing. Pretty cool for a 14-year-old boy.
1 checks.
Pretty amazing as he can hit that flop without adjusting the cards.
That's what I just thinking. I was like,
We'll see the flop here soon enough.
Bullseye flop.
There's a magnet.
125.
that was incredible.
So we hope. What we do know is Warden checked it. Manetti bet it, and he's going to win it.
No, 2 folds.
No.
I called it one.
Just 1 and 8.
Seat 8 and 1.
8 bet 125. 1 fold.
Hey, you gotta be careful. Seat 8 1. I mean, no. Seat 8 took the hand. Not seat 8.
Ghost of poker past.
Yeah.
Is everybody still doing okay, guys?
You have raised by Pokeball.
Now you see we got a log jam. The top 5 in the counts.
Yeah.
Like 4 big blinds separate them.
I didn't want to interrupt.
I think it might take a cooler for our first bust out here. We're gonna need aces and kings, or
But I think we've already had a couple cooler hands.
Yeah, I
and
mean-
nothing happened.
more times than not. Like you said, we would have lost 1 or 2 players by now, given the hands we saw
4 folds.
early on. But
After this hand, I'll go around. We'll do a little roll call. I'll give you the names of all these players. I've had a couple that haven't had much to work with yet.
Seven raises 85,000. 8 folds. Nine calls 85,000. 10 fold. 1 fold.
Wheeler raises it with an ace jack,
2
and
fold.
Cuniff with a much inferior king jack is going to call. If we get a jack high flop, we could see some fireworks here.
Two players still.
It's always the problem with a hand like king jack calling a raise is your opponent is tending to raise with a lot of cards that hit that range, and there Acunnif actually takes the lead, pairs his king.
7 check.
Yeah, he gets the best of it on the flop.
Wheeler does not continuation bet.
That's 110,000.
Opens the door there for Cunnif to bet it, and looks like he'll probably take it. And he does.
7 fold.
So tell us, Brian, who we got at this final table?
So in the 1 seat out of Fisher, Minnesota, John Worden, his first MSPT cash. In the 2 seat, Will Metz out of Brighton, Colorado. He's a poker dealer. This is his second MSPT cash, second final table. Mr. Metz there actually final tabled our Venetian event. Took 7th place for $71,000. Pretty impressive. In the 3 seat, Andrew Geffen out of Westminster, Colorado, his second MSPT cash. In the 4 seat, Jason Beasley out of Denver, Colorado, his first MSPT cash. In the 5 seat, Cooper Wanty out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, second MSPT cash. In the 6 seat, Nils Bardsley out of Denver, Colorado, his second MSPT cash, and a Patriots fan. Mike Wheeler out of Denver, Colorado, his first MSPT cash, and I'm sure 4 proud daughters watching intently. In the 8 seat, Mike Manetti out of Littleton, Colorado, his second MSPT cash. In the 9 seat, Jerry Cunnif out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Wait, we got 2 Minnesota players here at this final table. First MSPT cash. In the 10 seat, Bruce on the Loose Russell out of Loveland, Colorado, his first MSPT cash. So there you go. A lot of first-time cashers, which we're in season 9 now, so we don't see that very often, to see that many first-time cashers at the final table, but
We actually had, leading up down to the final 2 tables, we had some very experienced MSPT players. Fortunately, they fell short of making the final table here. One of them, Brett Blackwood, the 2016 MSPT Michigan State poker champion from Firekeepers Casino. He bubbled this final table, exited in 11th place.
Even Denver's a jumping.
In 14th place was a local favorite, Sammy Awida. He's made the final table twice here at the MSPT Golden Gate tournaments. And finishing in 17th and 18th place were Drew Schultz and Bobby Sanubane. They actually made their names in the MSPT regional events. Earlier this year, Drew Schultz finished runner-up to Corey Zadu. And in Season 6, Bobby Sanubane actually won an MSPT regional title.
10 folds.
and we're going to have a first-time champion here today. I think at the last MSPT final table in Iowa, we had 3 players at the final table that were previous MSPT champs. None of the 3 was able to capture number 2. At this final table, we've got 10 gentlemen looking for their first MSPT win. And as you can see there in the background, we're very proud to present Kimosabi Mezcal. They are our Season 9 Player of the Year sponsor. And
Season 8.
I'm sorry, yeah, Season 8. Season 9 is right around the corner. We are on a calendar year, so Season 9 will begin in January.
Yeah, there's actually only 2 more stops. We go straight from here to the Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee for the Wisconsin State Poker Championship. First time it'll have been held at Potawatomi Casino, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's my home state, so a lot of the players I've battled with over the years will be there, and definitely one of the most exciting events for me. And then in December, we round things out with the Canterbury Park season finale.
Yeah, and the Player of the Year, the Kimosabi Player of the Year title will most likely be finalized at that final table. That seems to go how it seems to be how it ends up every season.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a really tight race right now for the Kimosabi Player of the Year title. Right now, Chris Myers, who won in Michigan a couple weeks
back.
He's
had 2 huge runs in 2 huge fields.
Yeah, the 2 largest ever fields ever held in Michigan. He final tabled one, finished 5th place back in the spring, and then a few weeks ago he won the Michigan State Poker Championship. So he's in first place with 3,300 points, and Keith Heine is in second with a little over 2,900. and then a bunch of players right in the mid 2000s. So it's going to be a really interesting race. And what's really interesting is nobody in the top 10
Is it still a 5?
traveled here to Golden Gates.
Yeah.
To try to get points. There were
Which
a
is
few,
rare.
Yeah, there were a few that were planning on it, but some things came up. They couldn't make it. So it's really going to come down to Potawatomi and Canterbury Park. It's worth noting, though, that by finishing in 14th place, Sammy Awida has jumped up to 2,017 points, which puts him in 9th place.
Okay.
So Sammy always has good finishes here in Golden Gates, and he was actually at our Vegas event. I wrote a hand with him, and I believe it was him and Carlos Mortensen, the 2001
Okay.
World Series of Poker main event champ. And we wrote that up for MSPT Magazine, which, of course, you can read on msptpoker.com.
Yeah, it's free and the magazine is free in PDF format on msptpoker.com, as Chad just mentioned, and of course the hard copy is it's basically free in every card room that we host events in. Oh, Geffen's gonna make me yawn there in the 3 seat. Wake up!
All right, we got some
This could get
action.
interesting,
Yeah,
yeah.
both players flop top pair.
Mets in
Mets.
the driver's seat.
Mets opened it.
I didn't see it. Sorry.
Bardsley there in the 6th seat, sitting on 580K. He's got a tough decision to make here. Looks like he's just gonna call.
55,000 turn. 6 check.
It's like a jack to me.
Yeah, and that jack's not popping up. These are RFID cards. That means our jack
No,
is
it was
probably
another king.
Oh. So that king is probably bad. Sometimes these players get a little aggressive with the cards. They peel the corners and snap my antennas in those cards. And then they don't read anymore. Doesn't impact the game at all, other than it's just delayed for us to get the opportunity to see it.
So Mets check behind on the turn, disguises the strength of his hand. Oh wow, he's going to check it behind here. I do not like that at all. He missed a ton of value. He could have bet 150, 160,000 and get a call easily. Yeah, that's he had top 2 pair with top kicker. I'm not sure why he was afraid to bet, but he definitely lost some value on both the turn and river there.
Well, Chad, we talked about it. We have not lost a player yet at this final table, so we're just going to continue to get shallower. We are on hand number 15. 413 runners. We're down to 10.
I'm ready for a heater.
Had a couple of short stacks. Had some big hands, some potential coolers, and
Ready for the heater.
everybody has faded elimination at this point.
We were
You're the degree for the heater.
illuminated and radiated by it.
Of course, last week, if you were watching the stream, we were at Meskwaki Casino in Iowa. But at the same time, there was actually an event playing out here at Golden Gates, the MSPT $360 regional event.
Right.
Drew 848 entries, so another massive turnout for the regional events here. And it was actually won by Gerald Morell. He took home a little over 33,000 after they worked a 6-way chop. Of course, in the regional events, chops are allowed because they're not broadcast,
Yep.
not
But-
live reported.
Yeah, so those that are in, looks like Geffen's going to go all in here with Queen 10 of diamonds, but he's going to run into Wanty's aces. So Wanty is pretending to ponder a call, but he's right now considering if he wants to try to entice anybody else to get in, but he is going to
4 folds, 5.
isolate here with his aces. Geffen, you know, it might look like Geffen's dead here, but
That's good ace cracking hand.
I saw him crack kings with 8-7 with 12 players to go, so he's not done yet.
Oh, there's top pair for him. So he's got top pair looking for another queen or 10. He's got some running straight and flush draws. There's the flush draw.
Yeah, and
10 outs to him. Nope, it is
Oh,
red,
wow.
but it is a heart.
I'll be honest with you, I thought Geffen was going to get there.
No, you gotta stay in front of your RFID. Can we have everybody move like 8 inches to their right? So him and I can rub it.
Slide a little bit, but you gotta stay in front of your.
So we're going to lose Andrew Geffen out of Westminster, Colorado here in 10th place.
On the left side.
But he's going to take home a little over $6,400. Congratulations to Geffen.
You know what I mean? Oh, okay.
No, that's good. Now we have a couple inches in between.
Bruce on the loose, Russell in the 10 seed. He's a talker. But he has yet to play a hand here at this final table. He is blinded down to 8 bigs.
Yeah, they gotta find
He's
one
on
you
crutches.
want.
Had a little knee surgery, he said.
Yeah, we had to get him. It's tough to.
I was gonna
It's a good thing he
say,
ended up in that 10 seed. It'd be tough to get him to the other side of the
How
table.
many
He was
times?
only.
I never saw him win with the best
I already
hand.
knew
Only
that.
the worst hand.
He was only in against Pocket Kings with
9
7
folds.
8.
Yeah, those were my
Flop
kings.
and 8 and river to
Thanks for not telling me that before. I would have been a
Get
lot
the
more.
4?
I didn't know if that.
Good playing with you, sir.
The problem is, Andy, you had way too
Anything.
many outs.
outs. I'll run aces again. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck, though.
Go Page or Pats. Patriots. It's like a mix of Patriots and
Hey,
Patriots.
hey. Slow down with that. Go Pats.
I'm sorry, 1
I
fold.
know. That's why I already have. I'm already the outsider
4
one
folds.
way.
20 to 6. Where you
5 folds.
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
6
Oh, I
folds.
grew up in Muskegon. I went to see him.
Oh, cool.
I
I just
fly to
camped in
Michigan
there
twice.
twice this summer.
7 calls.
I fly there twice a month to see my kids.
Oh, really? Oh, they go to school at Michigan? Or,
No, they're high schoolers.
Oh, nice. In Muskegon.
And I couldn't get a job.
8
They live in Grand
raises.
Haven.
Yeah.
I just work
7
here
folds.
and go there.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah, you want the count?
It's a beautiful area though, Muskegon.
165 and 7 folds.
I called the 12 line.
Everyone has a different bounce to it.
Yeah.
The chips bounce.
It's a little stiff. I dig it though.
I kind of
It's
like
like
it.
You know what? I'm gonna from now on
It's like
start
in the
making
Army,
more of
you
these.
know, bounce- you
This
can-
is pretty cool.
Bounce your quarters.
If I'd
out.
known it was this cool, I'd have played better all this time. Most of the tournaments, I'm like, God, I gotta get out of here so I can go play 30-60.
That's because I'm over there giving you.
Chad Holloway here at Golden Gates Casino. We're going to be joined in a little bit by Jessica Dolly.
Yes. Yeah, that would be a 25-year challenge.
1 folds.
The poker pro out of Florida. She didn't have much luck in the event this weekend, but
She said she couldn't get her starting stack of 20K up above 30K before falling back, which is a shame. I was hoping, she would do well. This was her first MSPT event outside of Las Vegas.
Nine folds.
34 minutes. We are in the 20K, 40K level. Round 26. Everybody here guaranteed $7,600. Still nobody running away with it. We haven't seen a player really get up over 40 big blinds. Still a log jam there in the top 5 or 6.
No discounts. No discounts. Oh, my God, that's light.
He
Didn't hold against the aces.
How do I not crack aces?
Dude, I hit top pair and I did
1
win.
fold.
The turn card, man.
2 folds.
Great.
4 folds.
Yeah, he's good for
It's almost
stories
5
and
folds.
It's almost like
6
I
folds.
hurt his hand.
Yeah.
80.
7 raises to 80. 8 folds.
There's been a lot of guys coming out.
And by the way, the amounts that you see are unofficial.
10 folds.
I mean, with the bad beat being big, there's like 4 or 5 guys. that
Were there a
come
bunch from Minnesota?
in. Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
we
know
got
we
a
had some
bunch
from Canada for a while.
Really?
bunch of from Canterbury talking
Well, we
I
had
told
some
you this was a
Canada guys
talkative
coming
bunch.
down and playing the game for a long time.
So it was like 700 or 800, wasn't it?
But then
Makes
we
our
did
job
have
a lot
some
easier.
But I mean,
So
even,
Russell blinding down to 7 bigs here needs to make a move.
Eddie's?
They said there wasn't a game there.
Has not yet played a hand that I'm aware of, has he?
I don't think so. I think he had that pocket 5s into one hand and had to release them.
Yeah, Bruce on the loose. Russell there in the 10 seed out of Loveland, Colorado. He does have a 35K score to his name. He's a finance director.
the best of their best is coming out.
All the
Poker,
bottom
tennis,
line
kids.
are terrible.
His first MSPT cash.
Can't win the first time anyway.
He got in through a satellite, so
We got a little bit of talent over there as well too.
Got in for cheap.
The games have actually been pretty miserable the last week or so.
It's all limit players. And there's one time I went out to Vegas and went to Bellagio on Tuesday night. Sat down at the table, I handed, 4 of us were from Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
That's where they all go.
9 fold.
Jerry Cunham talking about the Minnesota Cash games.
Has anybody played the mix game in
1 from 6.
Arizona?
I was just there for a week, but I was golfing here.
By the way, you guys didn't notice?
Well,
And I had
it
to
says
interrupt
mixed
you,
games, but I don't know
'cause the
what's in
heater
the
just
mix. Like, are
started.
they?
But you guys didn't notice.
I was feeling nice over here. I've been a little cold.
Yeah.
I'm starting to put my hands up.
I mean,
to
they're
the fire.
running 40, 80,
didn't want
75,
anyone to miss
150
It's a
mixed
pretty big
games
poker.
every day.
It's a big poker one.
I mean, who's not talking at that table? It's like, I don't want to say anything because it's already a jumbled of voices.
7 people at a time.
Sometimes we get tables where nobody will say a word, and sometimes we get tables like this. And looky here,
They're having
Beasley, ace is under the gun.
Beasley and Bardsley.
And Russell here, the short stack.
Yeah, and so the one hand that Russell picks up, he's going to have to play those 9s with his stack. Unfortunately for him, he's going to run into Beasley's aces. I don't think there's any way to avoid this. I'd be shocked if he laid down the 9s here with the 7 big blind stack.
And you've seen with the pocket 7s there, this is a great example of the sort of play here.
Yeah.
It was a single raise to you. You have 10 big blinds in a pocket pair of 7s, and he just folded it. So many players would shove it. And Russell does go with his pocket
The 9
pair.
of diamonds. The 9 of diamonds.
We got 9-9 against ace 8.
9's bought the most sets, man.
So
I don't mean that.
Russell at risk here. Let's see if he can fade it.
And there would have been a set of 7s for the 7s, but Russell picks up a gut shot now. 4 outs. And he hits it.
Oh, wow.
So Russell going to survive it. No, it doesn't matter what the river is. A 9 would chop it, I
So
guess.
sick, isn't it?
Wow,
The
and
heater.
Beasley's suddenly quiet.
I heard you.
I tried to interrupt everyone. Tell them.
It was all fun and games until that straight came. Beasley, you can see it written on his face.
He's like, did that just happen?
He is frustrated.
88K up top. This is not the time to run
That's
bad.
aces and kings with 11 players left.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Well, I'm short stacked. I'm gonna go into 9s, right?
355
I'm not short anymore. 2 mil. Want to wager? Can you do
What-
side wagers?
What do you want to wait?
Wager and I'm gonna have 2 million chips in 10 minutes. 8 minutes to that? That will be 10 minutes.
2 million in 8
Sorry.
minutes.
We have
Well,
a win
he's
top.
gonna have to play more than one hand to get that done.
Local rule.
I guess that means he's gonna start being active. Let's
We don't take
go.
backs, but I don't know what the rules are about cursing.
Well, if they
Beasley
call
was
it
actually
tonight,
the
I'd
day
win every
1C
You can
chip
say
leader.
whatever,
Bagged
but-
the chip lead last night.
Wow, my ex-wife is
Mike Wheeler, who's also at the final table, he was the day 1A chip leader.
She's going to be
And kind of ironically enough, the day 1B chip leader was the monster chip leader. Came in with over 400,000, but ended up bowing out in 25th place, give or take a little bit. It was not as deep of a run as he surely hoped.
always been a great
So in a role reversal, now Beasley is the short stack with 7 big blinds,
Had to get that in officially.
6 folds.
and he's in the big blind as well.
She knows that. I'm just saying, she'll be watching this to make sure I didn't give her 20%.
9 folds.
I think she should get half.
And now if it folds here, Warden should be opening the button with an ace.
All the giggling divorce guys.
If perchance he doesn't,
I'm just engaged.
then Mets should just be
Don't do it,
shoving
man.
that big
Don't
blind
do
with a
it.
jack 8.
This is a scared laugh.
No, the best,
But it looks like Warden is going to raise it.
Raise. 1 raise
Oh,
for 90.
she's amazing. She's the best. It's only gonna take me one.
And takes it.
Good bet. It's going to take it down. Warden scoops a pot.
It just wasn't my time.
Beasley's still looking a little stunned over there in the 4 seat, as he
I've
should
got
be.
aces and kings
It's a
smashed
tough
with
break.
11 players left, and I'm still here. If I get those to hold up, you guys are in trouble. Because I'm going to win it with my other crap, too.
Dude, that was a good flop for my hand, but I mean, what are the odds?
50-50.
Yeah, for me.
Either I've got aces or I don't.
The heater only took one reprieve. This will be another heater hand.
I've played 2 hands that aren't in the blind since this thing started. What do you think I'm raising under the gun with?
Fold.
Dude, I've got 230, 60 players over to Maristar screaming for me to win. Right, Nils?
We're screaming inside, right?
Screaming inside right now. Nils is like,
8 raises,
Yeah.
100,000.
Russell, of course, referencing that he plays some 30, 60 cash games locally.
ready.
You need the one as well?
You made it 100?
Well, Russell's not going to get up to 2 million folding the ace-9 there. Pretty quick fold, too.
It's a skill game.
So Manetti's going to raise and take it.
You know, I really haven't seen anybody at this final table kind of separating themselves from the pack as far as play goes. You know, it seems like they're all just waiting around to pick up cards at this point.
I think this is if somebody, and Beasley now down to 5 bigs, definitely entering desperation mode here. But yeah, if there was a more like an online style of player here who was kind of min raising most all pots, you'd probably scoop quite a few of them.
Works every single time. You could.
And would be a pretty solid strategy at this particular final table.
9 folds, 10 folds.
Let's see here. It should fold around to Beasley on the button. He's the short stack. 7-5, not a great hand, but it folds to you. You want to try to swipe those blinds, see if he does or if he just gives it up. He does. He goes for it. I like it. You figure if you get called, chances are you'll have 2 live cards at least. And that might be what happens. And Bardsley does call. So these are the two of the shorter stacks. Beasley versus Bardsley. Bardsley a 2-1 favorite, but not anymore. Beasley, like I said, 2 live cards and he pairs one of them. Pairs the 5, and now he's made it 2 pair. That leaves Bardsley drawing dead. Beasley.
I didn't look. I just shipped it on the button. I didn't.
Awesome.
I mean,
And there you go.
I'm watching these other guys play. I'm trying to figure out why you look at your cards.
Well, Andy looks at one.
Sometimes.
Beasley says he didn't look.
Oh, I was.
Just shoves it from the button. That's the power of position. Gets called with by a better hand, but gets lucky.
I'm not gonna play tight
So
for 2
Bardsley
games and then be.
is going to be the new short stack.
TJ Sweet 88 asked, do you know where the MSPT is at on the dates of January 20th to the 28th? And the answer is yes, we do know. And he's referring to on our calendar. So on MSPTpoker.com right now, we have 30 events listed currently in 2018. And who knows, there might be more. But there are 2 events listed that, of course, say
TBD.
To
be determined.
In other words, we're working on it. We're 90% of the way there. But, of course, we don't want to release the information until it's 100%, just in case something goes wrong. But, yeah, we do know where those events are going to be, the new locations, which will be fun for everybody. But we're hoping that we can announce at least the January location within the next, well, hopefully this week, but within 2 weeks for sure. We feel pretty good about it, of course, otherwise we wouldn't have put it on there. But just a couple of details that just need to be signed off on to be sure.
Yeah, got to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Yep.
But I'm definitely excited about it. In fact, it'll be the first new stop on the MSPT since I came on board full time.
Yeah, because as you know, Chad, I mean, we just have so many events now each year, and we have the same stops back year after year.
There's only so many weekends, and I want some of them off.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's that balance of, we'd love to add new stops, but we love the stops that we have, and we don't want to lose anyone. And there's, as you said, because there's certain weekends you can't run events. There's holidays. There's Christmas and Thanksgiving. And of course, there's other big events that happen in certain areas of the country that, we don't want to butt heads with. And
10 folds.
But yeah, we felt it was time to add a little flavor. And I think you'll love the new stops, by the way.
2 folds, 4 folds,
Thanks for asking.
5 folds, 6 folds. 7 raises to 90.
I like it. Wheeler's going to pop it with King 8.
8 calls.
Yeah,
So Manetti's going to
little
call.
defense here. I like
Yeah.
it. Mixing it up a bit.
Going to defend the big blind with Ace 7. Let's go to a flop. I kind of like that this is a rare instance where the dealer actually lays the cards out before flipping them. Most dealers are further back, so we don't see the flop. We get to see the flop before the table does with this dealer pumping the cards out over the flop board.
Wheeler flops top pair. He shoves his short stack and takes it down.
As you can see there at the top of the screen, Chad, it's MSPT 112. That means this is our 112th MSPT main event. That's a lot.
It is.
And we've also run, I think, I don't have it in front of me, 21, 22, 3, regional events, which are generally 350 to 360 buy-in, depending on the location. So yeah, we're getting up there. And of course, like I said, we've got another 20 plus main events on the season, on the calendar next year. So
And for those who are wondering what a regional event is and the difference between that and a main event is, simply that you start with the same amount of chips, you start the same structure. It's just the levels are 30 minutes instead of 40 minutes, and you don't get all the glitz and glamour that you get with the main event, meaning the live stream that you're watching, the live reporting. We still do a lot of social media and recaps, of those regional events, but they're just give players who might not be able to afford an $1,100 buy-in the chance to play a great structure.
Yep. And of course, our structure is designed by Alan Kessler, Chainsaw approved. Alan the Chainsaw Kessler, who many might know, he's kind of the structure police in the industry, I guess.
You won't hear him bitching about our structure because he designed it.
Yeah.
7 folds. 8 folds.
So Bardsley from the cutoff, 10-8 offsuit, shoves it. He is going to hope it gets through because if Cuniff calls him from the big blind, he is going to be dominated. 3-1 dog. It's 4 big blinds to Cuniff to call. He's got 40 invested. It's 160,000 more. The shove was for 5 big blinds, and it's going to get through. Again, I think with 1.1 million into my stack, I'm going to put in, those cards. The range that he's shoving with there is just too wide. King 10 plays decent against such a wide shoving range. Sometimes you just got to take chances, to move up in the money and put yourself in a position to win these things.
So we're rolling into hand number 27. We've only lost one player, and that was Andrew Geffen. In 10th place, Brian Molesky, Chad Holloway here at Golden Gates Casino, Blackhawk, Colorado. And for those that are familiar with the Blackhawk, Colorado, well, I should say the Colorado scene, poker scene in general, knows that Golden Gates completely dominates the tournament scene. I mean, pretty much nobody even tries to compete with them in that regard. They run all the big tournaments, pretty much all the tournaments here in the Colorado area. So if you're in the Denver area, this is a quick jaunt, a pretty drive up the mountain, about 50 minutes to an hour out of Denver. If you're looking for something to do on a day off, come up to Golden Gates and play a tournament.
A couple good things I like about Golden Gates that's different from a lot of our stops is free alcohol. You get free booze here at Golden Gates. There's no bar time. It's a 24/7 town, so you can really have a good time. And I think a lot of people do that. They come up from Denver for the weekend and just enjoy themselves.
There you see it, round 26, 20K, 40K, 5K ante. 9 players remain, guaranteed a little over 7,600. And nobody's been able to pull away from the pack, and they've had a difficult time busting people the last few hours, so we are still 9-handed. At some point here in the next 30 minutes, we're going to see a fair amount of action because players can only hold on so long before those blinds start to creep up and put them in the danger zone.
2 folds.
I sure like the hands we were seeing the first 4, 5, 6 hands of the final table. The kings and the aces and the ace king.
Yeah, it's dried up a little bit here.
I'm thinking, should have busted through that wall. I knew it.
90. 7 raises to 90. 8 folds.
Wheeler with a suited ace raises it to 90,000. I like it. If you're going to come in with a hand like that, you should come in raising first to act. Not first to act, but when action folds to you. Cunniffe on the button, Queen Jack suited.
9 calls.
He wants to see a flop.
10 folds.
And that might give Warden a nice price to come in, but he releases his 9-7.
Before, didn't we?
Heads up.
I raised pre-flop, you called, and I checked, and you got me right out.
I didn't top pair that, yeah.
I'm all in.
7's all in.
Look.
Nine folds.
We knew that one. The other one we wanted.
I know, of course.
The other one we
Way
wanted.
more
to know.
fun to show the
And
other
you'll
way
see it,
out, yeah.
and you'll see it in 15 minutes, plus your break.
Oh, he's saying you ain't long for this
Yeah, I
game.
heard that too.
No, no, no.
He's saying I got somebody out there watching.
That's not what I said.
I know what you said.
Are you getting like an imaginary massage?
It's actually good for my hip.
He's
I
like,
can't- I
for a
can't-
minute there, I was like, wow, look at him. He's hunched over. He's like almost asleep. She must be doing great.
Can we get one of the, hey, you know what?
Massage legs?
We could actually, I'm saying,
That's always
is there somebody here that's doing those?
I'm gonna
Massages?
Yeah.
I could go ask when I get on break. I'm sure there's
It's
someone
really not a
downstairs.
bad idea.
4 folds,
Sure they
5
have
folds.
Look,
Yeah,
nobody else
someone
around
else.
here is
If anybody wants it.
old, but I'm old.
6 folds.
My birthday's next week, so.
And what are you like? What are you like? 22?
28. Look at this. You can't grow this thing when you're.
Dude, looks like a.
I'm 10 years older than you. I
7
can't throw
calls.
that thing.
Yeah.
8 folds. 9 folds.
What's there? That's a caller.
It's a call. 40. 10 folds.
Hasn't been able to play a button since the table started.
Erase. 1 raises. 95. 2 folds.
So Wheeler limps with a small pocket pair here. Worden raises it up with a suited ace. Wheeler's going to try to set mine.
Heads up. One bets. 95. 90, sorry. Seven calls.
So Worden flops a flush draw. Wheeler still going to call to see the turn here with his underpair.
One checks.
We'll let this hand finish and do a little introduction.
Yeah.
We've got a special guest in the booth right now, but we'll see how this hand plays out first.
140. 7 bets, 140. All in. All in.
I like it. Worden gonna go for the check shove.
On the draw.
He says if my opponent has a 10, at least I've got some outs. And he's loving that he hasn't been snap called.
And Wheeler in a tough spot now because he is below 10 big blinds. 380K behind.
I don't see him calling it off here. Not against Worden. Worden's been playing too snug. You'd have to put him on exactly a flush draw.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. The way that Worden played it, it does. We can see the cards obviously, but it does feel like a flush draw.
But even if it is, which it is here, chances are it's 2 overs to the 3s.
Yeah,
it's a flip. So you want to flip for your tournament life if you're right. I mean, of course, you could be wrong and dominated, and he does fold it, gets rid of it.
And we are now joined by somebody who did not do well at flips this weekend. Jessica Dolly, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, apparently flipping is not my specialty. So, yeah, 3 flips, 3 bullets, 3 out.
Yeah, I talked to you about it. I mean, if you're going to win these tournaments, you've got to be better at races.
They got one hand, they're all
Yeah,
steaming
and
about it.
honestly, I'm super sad because it was a great structure and,
I just
you
wanna
know,
watch myself.
a really fun-filled, like, everyone was so nice and happy to be playing, so I really wish I could have
I wanna watch
gone
all
deeper
your
in the
faces
tournament,
and
but
see
at least now I care to commentate with you fine folks.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
it could be worse.
What I get.
Yeah, we got a couple things to talk about. First of all, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, I don't know how you do it because
C10 hopeless.
every person at the table or in the entire card room talks to you constantly, and that's got to be difficult to focus and play and have to fake that. No, I'm just kidding. You don't fake that because you are extremely nice and very approachable, obviously. But it would drive me insane because I would have to fake it personally to get through 10 hours of people just constantly talking to you. That's got to be a little bit. I know you enjoy the conversation and you enjoy people, but that's got to be a little bit difficult to concentrate.
It's sometimes a little exhausting, especially if I'm playing like like a tournament that I'm really focused on, like a WPT or like a big major. But I really love people, and that was one of the things that drew me to poker, the social aspect of it. So I really don't mind, and especially traveling so frequently, getting to meet all different types of personalities, especially across the U.S. So I totally get what you're saying, but for me it actually adds to it because that's the one reason I didn't like online. The whole reason that I play poker is for the social interaction. So I don't mind it, but yeah, sometimes like the other day was kind of funny. I couldn't get a breath of fresh air, but.
Come all the way out to Colorado
Yeah,
and find everybody to talk to.
It was insane. Like I thought, like I'm not gonna know anyone here, and then by the first break, I think 5 different people. I knew 5 different people probably here. So.
Yeah, it's tough to be popular.
I have a present for you. Oh, I'm gonna throw it at you.
Hell yeah! So she just brought me some. I was actually eyeing this up the other day.
So it's like
Because
mint.
look what it's on his thing.
Yeah,
Mint
chocolate chip.
chip gum.
That's why I'm rooting for Wheeler in the 7th seat because he's got a mint green shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
You're
It's like a
welcome.
mint chocolate
Bark.
bark. Oh, it's gonna be
It has to
amazing.
be on my sweet potato, right?
I was thinking that he's probably got like Ace Rag and that kind of
Yeah, it looks good though. From the sweet shop across the street, I assume.
Yep. I'm sorry.
So now, Jessica, and because you're extremely social, you've gotten some pretty cool gigs with it. And I think was it next week that you're heading out to Punta Cana
Yeah.
to do because you're now doing some.
Commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm taking my talking to the streets. No, I was fortunate enough to be approached by Party Poker to do some commentary for them in Russia, and now they're
Which
going
was a couple weeks ago,
Yeah,
right?
in September. Yeah, in September it was in Sochi, Russia, and then for Party Poker Millions. And so next week they're doing another Party Poker Millions, this time in Punta Cana. So I'm excited to go there. It's like a 5K, 5 million guarantee, so it's going to be a really good turnout.
So do you get to play when you go to these things and then do commentary as like the backup, if you bust?
So in an ideal world, that's exactly how I'd like it to be. However, which is great for them, all their like big millions events, they actually live stream feature tables up until the final
Gotcha.
table. So it's great for them. Only bad for me not being able to play. But yeah, I mean, I figure if I only don't get to play the Party Poker, millions events, but I get to go to them to do commentary, not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
So
You get to see some pretty cool places.
yeah, for sure. Poker's definitely afforded me the opportunity in my life to see a lot of places and travel. Sometimes not always to the best locations, especially when I grew up playing on a riverboat, but, sometimes it's like here. It's awesome here. I haven't been out to explore much, but everyone tells me it's amazing.
And you grew up in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Remember,
Lots of riverboats there. We've been to one ourselves.
Yep.
machines back up.
Yeah, Southern Indiana. Literally nothing else to do besides get drunk in your parents' backyard. And
No, I didn't
Sounds
play
amazing,
poker.
actually.
Yeah.
I'm in. How do I move there?
Yeah, well,
for sure.
oh.
And we have all the seasons, you know, so it's not
That's
terribly
true.
cold.
One full.
They do here as well in Colorado.
What have I missed in the action? Anything too exciting going on?
You know what? We had a ton of big hands early, and big hands running into big hands, but hardly anybody, it hardly did any damage. But we started with 10. We're down to 9. Andrew Geffen went out in 10th place. This is our 32nd hand of the final table, and we've only lost one player, so they're even yawning over there in the 2 seat. Come on, Will.
Yeah, then you get get
killed.
finished so you can go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have a tendency here in Golden Gates that the final tables kind of drag on to where it gets the stacks get a little shorter, and then we're still 7-handed, and they got to start flipping a little bit more, and that's because they just hold on so long, and it's happening here.
Yeah,
again.
you can see it here. So we're about 20 minutes away from 5 players being extremely short, just because we haven't busted anybody in quite some time.
Yeah, and the blinds keep going up, and they're going to get blinded out. That's one thing that I've noticed, especially in the commentary. The players, when you're not as aggressive, which is fine in the early stages of a tournament, but when you get this deep and the blinds go up, and the structures, it ends up being shallow, which it normally wouldn't be, but because they're not playing aggressive enough, they're all going to end up being short stacked.
Yep.
Could be an interesting hand here. Metz in the hijack with an ace-queen. Assume he's going to raise it here. And then Wheeler, I think he's the new short stack. Has a pocket pair, in the big blind.
Yeah, he's going to have to go with it.
Well, we would think, but like this is a
We saw
could be a good
Geffen drop
example.
the 9s early on with 8 bigs.
And to be fair, Metz is a fairly tight player. He hasn't been mixing it up too much. But he is going to go for it.
Yeah, and Metz, he plays a little more straight up, but he does have some huge scores to his name. He had a $186,000 score at the Festa El Lago in 2008. And then, of course, we mentioned earlier in this broadcast that he final tabled our Venetian event, took 7th place for $71,000. So
this is we've seen in this final table here. It's 9 bigs for Metz to call, and he is going to do it. We've seen people lay it down.
Tanked a little bit too long here.
Right.
Yeah, it's the right call.
Should have been.
C7 at 6-6.
Oh.
Should have been a snap call, but at least he did make the call. Maybe he was just thinking through. Like you said, he has some experience, so.
Wheeler excited. He is ahead, and he's going to like that flop.
If he doesn't.
Two of Metz's outs, an ace and queen, have been killed pre-flop.
No 5.
Can't be. He's got.
He picks up. The last 5, case 5 not available, so Wheeler going to ship the double there. 5's full of 6s.
So Wheeler stays alive, which is great for him. And, of course, not losing anybody. We'll continue to play a little bit shallower here at this final table. But my man with the mint green shirt holds on and survives.
You guys are keeping track of.
Have any of the other players final tabled your odds at STD before?
Is that important?
Well, Metz there in the 2 seat has a final table on the MSPT.
It's a big one, a Venetian one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it, what year? This.
I bet it was this last summer because that's a pretty big payout for a 7th place finish.
Right, it was $70K or something.
Yeah. So he's the only one who has final tabled an MSPT before. But of course, at the Venetian in Vegas, we didn't broadcast that one. So this is his first actual broadcast on the MSPT.
Yeah, it definitely adds a dynamic. No one wants to look stupid on live stream.
That's true.
It's
It was
really,
actually last year in season
Oh, was
7.
it? Okay.
it's really frustrating when you're playing and players who've never played on live stream before. And then you have a really good table, and you get your table gets moved to the live stream as a feature table, and then no one wants to play because they're too embarrassed or they don't want to make a mistake. So the play changes drastically, which is.
And nobody wants to bust early. They've got family and friends watching.
Oftentimes the opposite happens, where they get so nervous and because they're afraid of making mistakes that they make mistakes the other way. They're not doing what they should to put themselves in position to win. And Brian and I often get people coming up to us after some final tables error and say, what, you're criticizing me. What did I do wrong? They're just giving us a hard time. But
No, like I had the same situation when I was doing commentary over in Russia. I didn't want to come off, as being like the B word, but at the same time, so what I would say is that one of the reporters, nice enough to point out, I would say I would expect the player to do X, Y, Z instead of the player should do X, Y, Z, because everyone has their own style of play anyway. But
Well, there's a million ways to play each hand, and that's the fun part of poker. It's so quiet there at this final table right now. I don't know. I thought the sound was off or something.
Yeah, we haven't had this quiet lull since they began. Bardsley with the pocket sixes here, debating what to do. What do you do here, Jessica? You got an open shove in front of you. You have pocket sixes, but you're you're one of the short stacks.
Yeah. So and the blinds are 20-40. He's got 10
yeah,
bigs.
I was gonna say I don't see him folding here. Because
No, and he's hoping he's up against ace queen or something like that. To be honest, but
how many bigs does he have here?
10. So
Got a pair?
I mean, I don't know. To be fair, it depends how the other guy's playing because he's been playing fairly snug and he goes all in. I only have 6
well,
here.
Beasley with the 9s already had his aces cracked by 10-9. Is that what it was earlier?
Well,
So
holds here
no
through the
help to
turn.
Bardsley.
Just looking to avoid a red 6.
Good game, guys.
You guys can chip up.
And so,
Yeah.
and again, it says Bardsley has 415. Those counts are unofficial, so they are going to count this down to make sure that Beasley has Bardsley covered. So Beasley getting some chips back after he's been a little quiet after taking that rough beat with the aces.
Was it on pre-flop or something? Couldn't have been, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
9-10, someone was on
Oh,
the
but earlier the other hand. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
It was because it was on the guy was on a short stack, like a 10 big blind, 8 big blind stack.
Probably. I would have called for sure. Yeah.
and negative.
Actually, I take that back. It was aces and 9s. So Beasley raised.
Live by the nines, die by them.
It was
Russell.
It was Russell in the
We're
10th
talking
seat there,
nines.
jammed his 9s with like 7 or 8 bigs, which he should do. But then Russell turned to 9.
I turned the 9 gave him a straight. The turn
Gave him,
card.
yeah. He turned to straight.
I'm gonna have to do Syracuse, what I'm gonna have to do. You don't even.
So Bardsley does. He's still alive, but on fumes.
Yeah, it would be an epic chip in a chair comeback story if he can come back from this. He has got 15,000.
Still kind of scheming about folding 8.
I hope he does.
It would be a story.
Make for a long night. but-
Yeah, you can hear that signals that the blinds and antes are going to go up. So
Yeah.
That hand's in the net.
Shaggy on Twitch 420 asked about the Jacksonville event in 2018.
what Jacksonville event?
Well, that's what he said. He goes, "Why is it not out there?" Basically, and it's like, well, I mean, just to be honest, we love Jacksonville. We love Best Bet. They're awesome. We just have so many events on the calendar, and our bread and butter is kind of the Midwest and the center of the country, and it's a long haul for us to take 2 weekends to go down to Florida when we have so many events up here
Right.
with our core group of players. So yeah, we loved it there, and that doesn't mean we won't be back there, but for the time being, we're adding an event in January, and it was just difficult logistically for us to work in 2 weekends down in Florida with the other 30 events we have running. Which is too bad, because if we were in Florida, maybe we'd get Jessica out to actually play again.
Jessica was just at Best Bet
That's what I was
Jacksonville.
gonna say. Yeah.
Did quite well in the WPT down there.
I was the
it-
chip in the chair guy. So I
Yeah?
was down to 3 big
Oh yeah, he
blinds.
took 11th down there for 25K,
Yeah,
right? After,
yeah.
but as you mentioned, you were pretty short. Work it back up
It
and-
was, I was at 3 big blinds, so actually look at this. He's all in. He actually has equity in his hand here even against a set.
He's going to need a 3 to make the straight.
55.
But yeah, I love the people at Best Bet because all those guys and ladies were all the floor at the Wynn in Las Vegas. So when I was
Yeah.
out there, they're all the floor.
You know where
people,
they're all
dealers.
originally from?
Yeah, well, some of them from where you're from. And
Yeah,
some,
they're
yeah.
from Canterbury back in Minnesota.
So I really have a
Bardsley
soft
needs a
spot in
3
my heart.
here. Now,
He doesn't get it.
no chip in a chair story.
So GG Bardsley and what, ninth
Yeah.
place?
So unfortunately, we're gonna lose Nils Bardsley out of Denver, Colorado, but he is going to take home $7,612 for his 9th place finish. We are down to 8.
I'm sad to see him go, but to be honest, I'm not going to miss having to juggle Bardsley and Beasley. I was struggling with that for a little while.
You should have heard my commentary out of Russia. I can't pronounce any of their names.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I butchered it so badly.
In Russia, I'd be like, and the 2 seat,
Yeah.
and the 3 seat, the 4 seat raises.
I did that for a while, but then I couldn't do that anymore. Wasn't very professional.
I don't even know
It's a talkative group. All right, so we're down to 8. We've got Worden
I don't like it like that.
out of Fisher, Minnesota, Metz out of Brighton, Colorado, Beasley out of Denver, Colorado, Wanty out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, Wheeler out of Denver, Manetti out of Littleton, Colorado, Cunniffe out of St. Paul, Minnesota, and Russell out of Loveland, Colorado. Bruce on the loose Russell said he was going to get to 2 million in 8 minutes and hasn't played a hand since his 9s turned to straight against Beasley's aces.
Realize the blinds were at 50.
At least it was more reasonable. I think it was 9-10. I was like 9.
Yeah, I messed that up pretty bad.
No, that's okay.
Is it just heads up now? It is heads up.
That's why I just run a tour now, because I don't remember anything anymore. So,
Unless you're just so busy working.
right, yeah. There's got to be some good excuses. It's not because I'm old or anything.
Definitely. I have to do that.
2 to a flop.
Check.
10 checks.
So Wanty flops a second pair. Russell, not much to work with here.
Check.
It's going to get to the turn, though. Little something there. He turned the open-ender.
That's why you don't give a free card there. That's why you continuation bet.
10 bets 90.
If you're gonna open with a kind of a weaker hand, the Queen 7, the computer hand, it's the right in the middle of between a good hand and a bad hand, and you get a piece of it. You got a continuation bet, so
And
you might regret it here.
Yeah, Wanty not a believer, but he's going to call.
And there's
And
an
now,
out. Yep.
yeah, Russell does pair.
How do they do it?
Well, Wanty only has himself to blame here, because if he continuation bets that flop, he wins it right there.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
and to Russell's credit, he flopped absolutely nothing and got all the way to the river. Now has the best hand.
I don't know why he would bet here. The only hand that calls you is one that has you beat.
I do like a check call by Russell if that's the route he
For
elects
sure,
to go here.
and I'm sure he will.
He's busting out raising chips. I hope that's not the play, but I think a call here is the right course of action.
Yeah, there's no reason to raise here.
Yeah, because you're only getting called by hands that.
I mean, unless he's
Alright.
trying to bluff. He's obviously trying. If he raises, he's turning his hand into a bluff, obviously. But to try to maybe get him off, you know. I
Yeah.
think has his 9 beat like a king high, but
10 calls.
I don't think.
Yep, it's the correct call. He still didn't believe his own hand, but he.
It's open hand.
And yeah, Wanty probably should have bet the flop there to get Russell off that hand. But Russell's going to pick up a nice pot.
The heater's back on, boys.
Yeah, especially with this like table texture, I would 100% be c-betting pretty much every hand.
Agreed.
They're playing so passive, he's picking up so much equity. C-betting.
Don't get into that now.
So the blinds just went up again, 25K, 50K. And you can see there's not a lot of big stacks. They're playing fairly shallow here right now. We need to bust a player or two to get back into 30 big blind average stack range.
Mathematics allowed in there.
Were you there when?
Brian Molesky, Jessica Dolly, Disco Chad Holloway in the booth.
2 folds.
This is my online handle.
Wow.
By the way,
Fan.
one of the things I love about Colorado, I don't really gamble. See, when you're at casinos, and Chad can't say the same, unfortunately, but when you're at casinos as often as I am, it's a good thing I don't really gamble, other than the occasional poker game.
I saw
But
how terrible you were.
but what
trying
I
to play Deuces Wild.
yeah, but what I can't resist is in Colorado. Of course, they give you free cocktails, free beers if you're degenning a
Table game or
Video poker.
a video poker machine. So maybe a couple nights here we had a couple of us MSPTers pumping $20-$40 into a video. I pretty much suck at it because I never win, but I did.
Because you draw to gut shot straights.
yeah, they were literally trying to draw. They were trying to play Kessler style. Which
I was playing Deuces Wild, and it was 4,000 for a True Royal, and 1,000 for the royal with the deuces, right? Or no, 4 deuces.
Should've made it.
So of course, and then it's like the drop off is substantial to like
Yeah, so
125
pretty
or
much
something.
every hand they kept trying to go for the royal.
Well, right. I was trying to get a royal or 4 deuces every single hand. Now it didn't seem to work, but I did get a few free drinks.
I'll fold my
Well, I guess you can't. Free is a loose term.
We haven't seen many 3-bets at this final table, but there was one there and it worked. Got the better hand on fold.
Thank you.
Still 8 left.
I fold jacks right.
I think if Wanty had chips, he'd be the most likely to
No, I folded 2
adopt the
I would've
continuous
folded
raise
two
style
jacks.
to start picking up some of these
I
small
would've folded
pots.
2
And
jacks, though, 'cause with your chip stacks,
I don't know that anybody else has that style in them, but we haven't really seen anybody with a major stack yet.
Ace queen, suited,
5
chip
folds.
Yeah, once
4
they
are.
lose a
Fours
few
are
more
fold.
players, I think.
You haven't had to say
the
7 and 8 fold.
No one wants to see it.
In the meantime, I'll just eat some snacks. Chad, sorry. You're welcome to have them.
That's all right. You guys knock yourselves out.
Sorry.
What are you eating?
9 raises.
Peanut butter
Holy
cup.
goodness.
Peanut butter cup.
On the break, I'm going to hammer this
When's the break?
mint bark.
1 fold.
So between each hand, Jessica, the clock pops up, and you can see the blinds and the clock. And
Perfect.
I would like though. I thought we had this. I can hit it here, but I kind of like when the blinds show during the entire hand.
I didn't know.
But
Well, except I'd be the chip.
so there you see it. 30 minutes till our next
That
break.
didn't happen. You would have done.
You're gonna wait 30 minutes to eat that bark?
Yep.
Wow, you're a better man than me.
Everybody here guaranteed $10,400.
I realized, oh.
88K up top, and as Chad and I mentioned earlier, there is no chopping at this final table, so we will play it out until we have a winner.
Still talking smack on the 10 more for the big
Yeah. Is that a Colorado law or something?
It's an MSPT law.
Oh.
We're broadcasting.
Okay.
Pay us out and they pay us $5 red chip for 30-60 game. No,
You better get black. I've seen the way you play 36. You better just get black chips and get change over there.
That's 5 raises. I gotta go rest my knee. 125,000.
You got an early flight in the morning.
7
Yeah.
fold. 125.
Like 8 a.m. or
7 and
something.
8
I don't know who scheduled that.
9 fold. 10 fold.
I gave you options. They were not great options.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going back to tomorrow?
Florida.
Florida?
Fold.
Hollywood?
Yep.
It's probably a little warmer there.
4 fold.
Yeah, they're getting ready to start their series. The RRPO. First event, 360, 500K.
And we will be heading to Milwaukee for another big 1K event. Satellite's currently underway. Oh, by the way, Chad, why don't you, for those that are in the Midwest and heading to Milwaukee this week, you will be making a guest appearance
Oh, yes.
on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Very excited about this one.
Yes, I can't wait for it, by the way. I'll be there Wednesday.
We've been talking about it on some past broadcasts. We struck a promotion partnership with Mark Pokerho Kroon, his legendary Madison Bar, Players Bar, is
Yeah.
where Phil Hellmuth used to cut his chops back before he won the main event. And they do a burger of the week there. It's very popular in Madison. They get nominated for awards for their food and for the bar itself. And so we decided, hey, it's the Wisconsin State Poker Championship. Mark Kroon and his bar are legendary here.
Yep.
Let's do an MSPT burger. And
that's cool.
yeah, so Mark agreed, and it started this past Monday. It's going to run through Wednesday night.
Yep.
And if you go and buy a burger, then you get entered into a drawing for a free MSPT $250 qualifier seat into the said Wisconsin State Poker Championship. So,
Yep.
and not only that, Mark is donating $1 from every burger sale to charity. So it's a really win-win all around.
And I've seen about 100 pictures of people already eating the burger there this
Yeah.
week. So
There
I get
was-
mine on Wednesday. You and Eric are going to be there Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yep.
And then you and I are going to be there Wednesday, and I think we're doing the drawing on Wednesday.
Correct, around 7 p.m. And I'd be remiss, one of those people who came in and ate the burger was the mayor of Madison, Wisconsin. Paul Soglin came in, and yeah, we got a picture of him eating an MSPT burger. You can see that on our Twitter feed or on Facebook. And Paul's been a good supporter of poker throughout the years. He plays himself when he's not in office, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was really cool to see him come down and support us. Why don't you tell him what is on the MSPT burger?
I'm starving over here, by the way.
I don't
talking
even.
about
Yeah.
food.
It's so we wanted to do an acronym with MSPT.
Yeah.
So
I think it's got even more than that on
Mushroom
it, though.
Swiss.
right. It's it's mayo.
I don't like
for the
mushrooms, so I can't have that.
Sweet potato fries.
Oh, yum.
And the actual we'll put the
They're
fries
on the burger.
with pepper jack cheese and slices of avocado.
Yeah.
So apparently people are loving it.
Sounds
so
really good.
yeah.
I love sweet potato fries and avocado.
And by the way, Chad, if for those that aren't as familiar with Mark Kroon or Poco Kroon, he's like you mentioned, he's good buddies with Helmuth because that's where he cut his chops out there in that Madison area. But you might know that name because Mark Kroon is fairly well known for piling up massive chip stacks during the WSOP main event, right? Like
He's been the
I
chip
think
leader.
on multiple occasions
Yeah.
he's been the chip leader after like day 3. And may not have cashed any of those times because that's how I don't know.
Yeah, he had one deep run a couple years back,
Yeah.
but there were a few times where he had like the chip stack at the end of day 1C, kept it through day 2, had a huge stack most of day 3, and then just click punt formation.
When I was 8.
Yeah, Mark's an aggressive player.
9 fold. 10 fold.
How do you get to Milwaukee from Meskwaki?
1
Highway
fold.
or freeway? Straight through.
It's not free.
2 fold. 4 fold.
I'm from Michigan.
Everybody at this table from Michigan originally?
A lot of people are.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5 is all in.
We're gamblers there. Soaring Eagle Casino.
Hunty now all in,
7
Fire-
fold.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's going to take it.
casino while I'm in college. It elongated my stay to 7.5 years.
I like it. He's mixing.
No. I am a
Nobody
bachelor.
plays one on TV.
I am a proud bachelor of science. First 2 years, my grade point average was like 3.9 something.
I thought you would spend 7 years to get a degree in leisurely studies.
Yeah. But dude, how unfair is
that's
that?
good.
Man? I'm like 2 years of college. I'm almost a 4.0. And then the next 4.5 years, I think I graduated with like a 2.6 something.
Those are pretty leisurely studies.
0.4. But I did have proud ownership of about 8 cars for my fraternity brothers.
9 fold.
Were you spending your time playing poker?
A little bit. Well, they didn't have much poker, but
10
blackjack,
fold.
and there was a little bit of poker. Sports betting was big. As soon as they put the
One
casino in,
fold.
there was bookies everywhere. I don't know where they came from. Wow.
Do you all know any of these guys? Like personally? Or is these?
Nope, these are all strangers to me.
Yeah, there's actually a couple Minnesota players at this table that follow us around a little bit, but I don't know them personally. Eric probably does. MSPT Eric, of course, manning the action tracker. You can't see him on the camera. He's just outside of it, but he's the one tracking the action that occurs at the table. So all those pretty graphics pop up for you people at home that are watching and rooting on your friend or family member.
When I knew, no.
Yeah, so this was my first MSPT outside of Vegas.
Yep.
I was telling Chad, I was telling the other people, it's kind of like how it was back in, let's say, 2006 or 2008. Everyone's still really friendly. It's kind of like playing a home game, and when you're all in, like, you can tell people are actually like rooting for you. You know, like it's just really nice to have that feeling again. So
Interesting.
I
When I'm
definitely
all in,
recommend-
nobody roots for me.
definitely recommend checking it out. And plus, like the prize pool, like, this is a 200K guarantee. It ended up being what 400.
Yeah, over 400.
So
I'm
pretty
surprised.
good.
When you're all in, does anybody even call? Don't they just fold for you?
At a poker table right
If I ask them to nicely,
Right.
but only then.
Yeah. When I go all in, I get like 4 callers. They want to bust me so bad.
Oh, yeah. You got the baby face. Huh? How old are you?
I'll be 38 in 4 days.
Yeah, you don't look at this.
Did you know Disco Chad Holloway has a WSOP bracelet?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not, Alan Kessler says it's not real.
What event?
It's pretty real.
Employees event.
Oh, okay.
In 2013.
No, I remember you winning one. I just don't remember what event it was.
Contractually, I have to mention it on every broadcast.
To be fair,
That's
it's
not
no
true,
it's
actually.
no
I'm just
longer the low hanging fruit of the WSOP. They had the 365 event this
Giant.
summer, the Giant. Yeah, so it's no longer the cheapest event
It
out
actually
there.
turned out really well because like all her
That's the
friends
spirit.
came with their kids. We had so
You should
much
be proud.
fun with this.
Oh, believe me, I am.
So we got 2 days for free, and then we get the appetizers and
Two
we're
folks.
half off.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's funny, you said anywhere they wanted to go.
413 runners. We still got 8 here at this final table.
Anywhere they want to go for vacation.
It is.
Right, they're 13,
What time is it?
15.
8:58 local time.
So,
Mountain time. Is that where? That's where we're at, right?
it's like
I think
I
most
get
You know, in
confused.
the mountains.
Chad and I have been in like 4 time zones in the last 10 days, so
so they pick like and
that'll mess with your
what's
sleep
worse
schedule.
is at the
You'll
same
see here
time,
too. I mean,
one says London,
Chad,
one
I
says
can't remember the last time.
We had to go to London.
It's getting kind of loud at this table, but I think if I just read that correctly, is every player at this final table below 29 bigs?
Yeah, the
I
Blind
don't-
and Annie have whittled
I
them
don't
down.
know that I've ever seen that before, other than I think a couple times. The last time we were in Colorado, I think was it Caro Denudo the last time that just steamrolled it, which he
this time last year.
for his 3rd title, like,
Right.
and he tends to do that at final tables. We'd be out of here by now if Carl was at this final table. But I don't know that I've ever. I mean, maybe I think here a few events back it got super shallow because we even got to like the 5100 level with 8-handed. It was unbelievable. But yeah, that's a pretty rare instance to be at this final table and not have anybody. Generally, there's somebody with 60, 80 bigs.
Yeah, everyone shorts it definitely change them.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of the poker out of it, but
Let's see if they have the gall to complain about it once they do. You know, forgetting about all these 40 hands here we've played.
and not busted anybody.
10, 15 minutes. I don't think anybody here would call it long. I like the first one.
I will.
15 minutes.
So the next event that you'll have, what's the guarantee on that one?
Well, here's the thing. I think it's 200K, but we generally get around 500 to 600 for 2 flights
That's
out in
insane.
Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah. So
You guys,
clearly we kind of blow most of our guarantees out of the water at this point in time, but initially when we started doing them a couple of years ago, it was a big deal, right? Like we were posting
sure.
200 and 300K guarantees and everybody was like, that's how we drew everybody out because like, oh man, that's guaranteed to be a great event. Obviously, and which is awesome, we've grown so much that we look at those now as like, oh man, it's like they don't even exist kind of because we double them everywhere we go. Like in Michigan, we had a 300K guarantee and the last 2 have been over $1 million. But
Right now, so I'm learning with my wife.
we do have to be slightly careful because when you're in Colorado in the middle of November, we've been here and had 3 feet of snow. Well, when that happens, they shut down the mountain. You can't get here, and you can't leave, and you can't get here. So depending on when, we had we've got pictures of it. There was no snow one day, 3 feet, 10 hours later.
Oh yeah.
And that mountain gets shut down. Well, that could be a little dicey if if we're sitting on a 400K guarantee and 3 feet of snow. That's going to be an expensive weekend for
And
yours truly.
it should be noted that our guarantees are actually like real guarantees,
Yeah.
unlike.
I was gonna say weather permitting though.
Yeah,
right?
well, you see a lot of these tours now, they'll say in the fine print it's only a guarantee if they get so many players.
It's a 200 guarantee if we get 200 players.
Right.
Well,
Right.
duh.
Yeah, that's
Or
not
they
the
changed it
case.
like that one.
Or
Yeah,
I'm just not gonna say the
you
name,
get
but
to
out in LA.
Yep, out in LA, they far from meeting their guarantee, so they added an extra flight.
Colorado.
First you're going to Heartland, then you're going to MSP.
Sometimes I feel like these guys can hear me talk because they're trying to talk over me.
I know, it's so loud.
All right, we're gonna have some action on this hand at least.
Yeah, well, we think that sometimes, and these guys have
They
a way of
find-
dodging
They
bullets.
find ways to surprise you.
It's true. The button just
can-
raised in the last hand with 7-3 clubs and the big blind or the folded Jack 10 of clubs. So yeah.
Did you look? I haven't looked.
So Manetti's going to call here with the ace 8.
I didn't know we were looking.
They're having too much fun. I'd be the worst at this table because I'd be all serious.
Let's be real. You have no shot at making a final table.
Duh.
I mean, likewise. I've only bubbled the last 3 final tables or so.
I don't even play anymore.
So are they covering the spread?
No, they are not.
I'm joking.
Everybody with an ace.
We're going to need... Yeah, there we go.
And the worst goes to first. Manetti pairs his kicker.
Closer, closer.
And I'm out. And that's why I said what I said.
And I'm out.
4 bet.
165. Huh?
175.
On this board, I'm not exactly loving this c-bet. Yeah, what do you think, Chad?
And when you get 2 people calling you, especially one out of the big blind, that to me just looks like a great big blind, hitting that big blind range, you know?
Well, did I just see what I think I just saw?
Welcome to...
he just called ace 8 and then folded when he actually had
welcome to the MSPT Golden Gates.
Yeah.
Wow. That was impressive.
Well, I'll tell you what though, what makes the MSPT so fun, and Chad and I see this every week. Oh man, I just can't believe how shallow this is. This is unbelievable. 27 bigs
For the
is
chip
the
leader.
chip leader.
Yeah.
That is...
But
This
that's what
actually
happens
happened,
when people
like I
don't
said,
bust.
the only time it's ever happened is also here at Colorado, and it was a few events ago. And the players, again, they were 8-handed at the 5100 level because they never busted anybody, and they were asking to roll the blinds back. And I'm like,
Since that hand, dude.
we don't skip any, like that's never happened. You gotta start busting people. That's why blinds go up.
I play a lot.
You
That's
know?
so crazy, yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's not, I feel bad because it's like, nobody wants to play, but if
They do
you
it
don't ever
themselves.
bust anybody, then that's what happens.
It's my kill.
So-
He's in the small. I'm
Well,
like the
hopefully
cutoff
someone
player.
is going to wake up here and want to actually
I
win this tournament.
Yeah, we need to, somebody, and again, maybe at the break, they'll get to talk to their friends and family at home and say, hey, if you start min raising on a consistent basis here, you're going to start scooping a lot of these pots because this table is playing extremely tight.
7 ball, 128 fold.
You know, but what I was mentioning earlier, and I know we've got a lot of new viewers because we're out in a new market here. Well, not a new market, but we just haven't
different market.
A different market. We've been here for years, but we haven't been able to broadcast. This is only like the 2nd or 3rd actual broadcast we've been allowed to do here in Colorado. Like all the other states that we're in, they're so used to seeing our broadcasts that they're pretty familiar with it. But one of the cool things that I was saying about the MSPT is like, there's not one professional poker player that has made this. There was a number of them in the field this weekend, but not one professional poker player has made this final table. And that doesn't mean they're not good players. There's some very strong players, but they have daytime jobs. And to be honest, they don't play for this kind of cash that often because they don't play these types of tournaments. Now, Colorado has a lot of big tournaments, no doubt, but they're not in this position. It's so difficult to make a final table regardless of whether you're a pro or a lot of great things have to happen to get here. And the one thing that you'll probably see that Chad and I see on a regular basis, a lot of these players, what I would classify as more rec players, it doesn't mean they're not good players. They can be very strong players. They play great 10-handed because they can play tight, not make a lot of mistakes. But when you get down to 5-handed, and all the money's on the line, most of these players chop their weekly tournaments almost every time. So there's and you can't play online poker out here anymore. So there's very little experience, I would guess, out of any of these players playing shorthanded, and that's when you see a ton of mistakes. And unfortunately, that's when such massive amounts of money are on the line as well.
Right. That's what a lot of people don't take into consideration. When you play a tournament, you should focus on winning, and studying when you do get to the final tables and everything like that, because that's what you're hoping for anyway. So you should really focus your game on, like you were saying, shorthanded play. At least some of it. You have to. Well, here we go. Pair versus pair. Let's see.
That's why, like, when I play tournaments and we, or certain instances, like, which I don't get a chance to do much more anymore, but I love playing shorthanded because I always felt like I had such an advantage or more experience. Because I used to play a ton online, so I had been in that position of a fair amount. And then when I come to these live events, just so few people have that experience getting down to 5-handed.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
I
why
think you
always
can have
see
a
the
huge
chops.
edge. Yeah, that's why they have it, because they don't feel comfortable
No.
playing 5-handed,
You'll
right?
see chops where they'll do like terrible ICM. They'll give someone who's like fourth in chips first place money because they're afraid to play it out. I've seen it. Like, it's insane. Happens a lot in Florida.
And one of my favorites is when they're willing to give the chip leader more than first place money to get it over with.
There's a lot of places that don't allow that now because of that reason. Because it's like, it's just such a, it's just so absurd. A friend of mine that was a pro was like fighting that the other day. They wouldn't. He was gonna get more than first place money, and they said no. They
Yeah, so
tried it.
and the people that aren't familiar with the MSPT, of course, ask why no chops, right? Well, for these types of events, these casinos, this is a marketing bit, right? So they pay for these live broadcasts. If we allow chops, it doesn't exist,
Right? They would have chopped already. Probably.
They would have chopped already, right? And so these players all sign a form when they in order to register for this tournament. They not only is it a photo release form and those types of things, but they also sign that they agree to no chopping, right? So they do need to play it out because this is a broadcast, and to be honest with you, it's much more fun to watch, and it's a lot of players actually appreciate it because they don't want to be put in the spot to constantly be nagged for a chop. They just want to play it out, and I hear that all the time from players that want to play it out, but they get annoyed by people harassing them or bullied to chop. So we just get that all out of the way. When you register for this tournament, you sign the form. It says, hey, if I try to chop or deal or whatnot, because this is a live paid for broadcast that we have scheduled, they can be disqualified. Now, we don't want to do that, but it's for the integrity of the game, and that's why we do it here. We're not the only ones, by the way. Anybody that does live broadcasts, you have to implement that. Otherwise, you have nothing. You have no broadcast.
Right. And especially having these live streams is definitely going to help poker, and especially like
completely, yeah.
Especially the mid-stakes. Like, you have something to play for. Like, when I was cutting my teeth playing these mid-stakes tournaments, there was nothing. You were never going to have any televised events. There was no or any live streams. Nothing. You just played for the money only, which was fine. But you didn't have that like extra bonus. Especially for people who were like back in the day looking for sponsorship deals or just getting their name out there, or even to play in front of their family to give themselves more validity. There wasn't any of those options, so it is nice to see that there's a lot more live streaming going on.
We got also the MSPT magazine, one of the few magazines. So the winner of these kind of tournaments often get their picture on the cover of a magazine. And
so when you see those players on our cover, it's with integrity because they flat out won the tournament.
Yeah, you won't see it say they won 100,000 when they really chopped it for 25.
Right. Yeah. That's my favorite. When someone's like, ship the tournament, and then you see like the thing. I'm like, wait a second, you were fifth in chips, so they let you win and you took like seventh place money. Like, a lot of people didn't know that existed, but it definitely does.
We actually implemented some rules too on the regional events. We do allow chops.
Yeah, because there's no broadcast.
Right, there's no broadcast, but we do say we instituted some rules where whoever takes the most money is going to be named the winner of the tournament.
Right.
So that you don't have somebody who was seventh in chips and the other person says, I don't care about the trophy, you can be the winner as long as I get all this money.
Yeah.
That just doesn't look good either. So.
No, you're so true. So right. All right, so we might have some action here between Manetti and Wanty.
Well, I want to see a big hand. Can't resist a bad pun.
I know we've had a few random tangent conversations because there hasn't been much to talk about, but so Manetti's going to raise here to 115, and obviously Wanty's not going anywhere. At this point in time, it's almost
they're even, pretty much even.
Yeah, with the stacks at this table, you almost have to play every pair all out. But
5 raise.
He's actually
looks like
he's at the Commerce Casino playing an $1,100
with a million stack. That's an odd raise to 525,000. But
wow, that was.
And the sevens are gonna fold.
What would you have done differently there, Chad?
I probably would have made my raise a little less. I want action with those queens, even though I'm out of position. So I want to find that sweet point where I'm charging them just enough, while balancing me being out of position. So I probably would have made it like 340, 350-ish, right around that range.
Yeah, especially with kings there. I mean,
Exactly.
he literally was just like,
Queens.
Sorry, queens. He was literally just hoping that he's gonna fold,
Right.
and you don't want that. I mean, queens is such a premium hand in this spot. You want to try to get as much value for it as you can.
On occasion, I will
Flat?
flat,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I was
and
gonna say.
yeah, I'll flat it and then check it over with the intention of just check jamming most likely, depending. If an ace and a king comes on board, then you can get rid of it. But
And especially here, they do play fairly straightforward, especially given their stack sizes. You can definitely flat there and just check, give up like you said, if ace or king, because a lot of times he's gonna check back the flop when he doesn't make
I
doesn't make things.
don't think we've seen a straight bluff yet.
not much. We've seen some people raise with wacky hands,
Mediocre
yeah,
hands,
like
yeah.
a 9-3 or what have you. But
2 fold, 4 fold.
So Manetti picking up another hand here, ace jack.
5 fold. 7.
So and now the problem is they've played so shallow by not busting anybody that it's very difficult. Like even Wanty on the 5 seat there on the button can't even make like a raise because he's so shallow.
Well, you're gonna see this is gonna spell disaster.
yeah, we
And they both checked it through the flop. And this way you don't normally see is that they, especially at the final table, that was a limp. He limped under the gun +1, I believe,
Yeah.
with the jack 10 there offsuit. Off of
Certainly
the
unorthodox.
750k stack.
150.
And
So Manetti's going to bet 150k here. Russell's not going anywhere.
And this is where you get yourself in trouble with these hands, especially not raising jack 10. I don't really understand that play because now you've backed yourself into a corner. You have no idea where you are. And you have 3 jacks, so I don't ever suspect he's going to fold. However, like you all said, I've seen crazier things taking place. So
It looks like he's just calling.
oh, he's raising
no,
it
he's
up,
raising.
350. 7 fold.
and that is nearly half a stack.
I call.
And he snap goes all in.
Which again,
Yeah.
should have
He's-
taken some time there. But
Yeah, I definitely says I'm really strong by snap shoving there, but can't blame Russell here for calling either.
yeah.
We both
I've
full
never
played.
folded
Darn
with
it.
jack
I hate
No.
I also am not. The limp is,
That's awesome. You're the
you
man.
know,
Yeah, I mean that's
gets you in trouble.
it does, and he's seen it there.
So we're going to lose Bruce on the loose Russell out of Loveland, Colorado, the finance director. He's going to go out in 8th place here. But a very nice score. I think we'll see the clock here in a minute.
Y'all just got raised.
So he's going to take home $10,416 for that 8th place finish. So nice run for Russell. 5. And here's the thing. Look, we're still 7-handed, fairly short. Manetti's now up to 39 bigs, but the blinds are going to go up in 5 minutes.
And
So-
the antes are going to double, and I say this every broadcast.
Yeah.
When the antes double, then people are going to bust.
Yeah.
It's just such a crucial point in the tournament that it forces the action that much more.
Yeah. So
10k ante.
Yeah.
don't go anywhere because the way that this tournament is playing out, we're going to see some action in the next 4 or 5. I would think so.
And it must be so much fun.
Down to 7, we've got John Worden, Will Metz, Jason Beasley, Cooper Wanty, Mike Wheeler, Mike Manetti, and Jerry Cuniff.
It's been an interesting hand here, knowing the players as we do now. Cuniff is the type to defend with ace jack, because Wheeler's going to open this button with pocket aces, and if he finds the raise, not a shove or anything. There we go.
Raise, 110. 8
Yep.
fold.
I like that
Manetti with a
amount.
quick fold, and yeah,
Just above a min raise.
and I wouldn't blame Cuniff for defending with anything here, though Wheeler hasn't shown that he's too out of line in most instances. He looks pretty comfortable taking a sip of his, I don't know what he's got going there. Just don't spill it on my table.
Cuniff. Yeah,
Yeah.
raise it up.
And I can't, that's actually
That's
a
music
solid
to Wheeler's
raise.
ear.
Yeah, of course. So if I'm Wheeler here on the button, to be honest with you, I just call.
And this is,
It's gonna look weird with his stack size to just call here, but it's only another 110k. I call, and then I'm hoping that Cuniff leads out on the flop, and I'm looking straight double up here with aces. That's the only thing on my mind.
They play so scared here. I can't imagine he's not going to do anything with the ball.
So he gives kind of the acting job, like, what the heck?
I do
all
like
in.
that he acted there instead of snap shoving.
Yeah,
You know,
it took his time for a second.
It's hard to put him on aces here.
And so at this point, I think Cunoff can get away from this.
He can get away from it, but the way Wheeler kind of took his time there, he's probably thinking he's got a mediocre pair. I mean, that's what I would be thinking in his spot. So he's thinking, how much more is it to me for a flip? And he's going to take into account the math, what it'll do to his stack. I think he'll ultimately lay it down, but...
Yeah, I think Cunoff will figure out that it's unlikely that Wheeler is jamming worse than ace-jack in that spot. And also with Wheeler's stack relative to the blinds,
Look how comfortable he is.
yeah, and
it's
if, to be honest, if I'm thinking about it through right now as Cunoff, if I thought Wheeler had worse than ace-jack, I think he would have just jammed the button and tried to get the fold. He wouldn't have raised and then jammed over the top, right? That's what I would be thinking.
No, for sure. If it
So,
folded around
I-
him, he didn't know what to do with like eights or something like that.
And I know we can
Nice
see the
shove.
I know we can see the cards, but I'm putting Wheeler on a big hand right here, and I think Cunoff just did. He made the right laydown. So he's frustrated. He made the right. Cunoff played that hand correctly. It just didn't, work out.
And Wheeler shows it. I'm not usually a fan
He
of
should not
showing
show that hand. No.
Don't give that free
He's
information
showing
away.
aces. It's like the guy's like, he probably has aces. Meanwhile,
Of course, the next 15
Yeah. So again, we're here at Golden Gates Casino. Brian Molesky, Jessica Dolly, Disco, Chad Holloway, and make sure you get out to the Golden Gates website because they run a number of great tournaments throughout the year, including their own CPC events that I think, Chad, they run two to three. We're not in this area on a daily basis, but I think they run 2 or 3 Colorado Poker Championships a year. They're a great series of events, and if you're in the Denver area,
I had aces today.
make sure you check that out. I also want to give a shout out to. We're fortunate here. We get to work with some great individuals that run this room. Cage is fantastic to work with. He's the poker room manager here, and I think he actually oversees a few of these 3 casinos in this area. And then, of course, one of my favorite tournament directors is Pat. So Pat, I don't know Pat's last name, but every time he used to direct the tournaments here a couple of years ago for us, and I'm like, man, this guy's on top of everything. Like, he's a fantastic tournament director. He left for a little while to kind of dabble and go do some other things, and I think he comes back and runs just like their larger events here, and he does such a good job that we can kind of just sit back and report and not have to worry about anything. He's always a forward thinker, and
it's nice when you have someone like that to rely on.
yeah, he's got everything under control all the time. So Cage, Pat, these dealers are awesome. It's been a great week, and so shout out to them for running such a great event. And it's no surprise because they run a ton of great events all year round.
So I think we're going to be going on break. Are they doing one more hand?
Yeah, I think this will be the last hand. And it's kind of interesting. Metz, who began this final table as the chip leader, after 2 hours here going to the first break, is now the short stat.
That is what happens when you fold.
Yeah, and that's Will Metz there in the 2 seat. So yeah, you heard that buzzer. So after this hand, we are going to go on a 10-minute break. Currently 7-handed. One of these gentlemen are going to walk away with 88K tonight.
And I don't think we're going to get any fireworks here. I think this raise by Wani ought to take down the blinds and antes.
Are we on break?
One folds.
You're taking all our bets?
And that's what happens.
All right, so we're going to be we are 2 hours in, 53 hands in. We have lost a couple of players. 7 remain. We're going to take a 10-minute break here at Golden Gates Casino, MSPT 112, the Denver Poker Open.
Mike's on.
Phil Garzaneres. 10,000 Annie. Thank you, Nils.
So you guys remember that when you're tipping off.
10,000.
10,000
Back in action.
60. Garzanier.
I ate all the mint bark, thanks to Jessica. Whew. That was tasty.
Keeping everybody healthy here.
Yeah. A little sugar rush. Lines at 30K, 60K. And so for those that are just joining us, by the way, this is Brian Molesky, Disco Chad Holloway, Jessica Dolly here in the commentator booth. And this is kind of the fun part to see how these players respond, considering they're coming off their first break of the final table.
I won't lie. I used the restroom on the break, and came across one of the players on his cell phone chatting to, I assume, his friend or family back home, and he was asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Trying
So-
to get some information.
So that's why this is kind of the fun stage to see who got information and to see. And let's be honest, this has been in a fairly tight final table. We're playing fairly shallow at this point because generally we'd be 4 or 5 handed. We're still 7 handed. And so it'll be interesting to see if anybody comes out a little bit more aggressive, having talked to, gotten a little advice, maybe doing some consistent min raising, stealing some of these pots like this, for example.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually seen this
Yeah.
earlier.
So, and as I say that, who took that one down?
Cunniff raised with the King 7 suited.
Yeah, perfect, right? Great.
Finally.
That's you're 7-handed. You got to open up your range a little bit, and those are all some pretty low numbers overall. That's voluntary put in pot.
Yeah, so blinds are 30K, 60K with now a 10K ante. As Chad was mentioning earlier, doubling the ante is really going to make the play go so much faster now. I mean, they're so shallow. The average chip stack, like we already mentioned earlier, was under 29 big blinds effective.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, they're not going to be able. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to have an opportunity to try to outplay someone. They're so shallow.
Yeah, they're all really dependent on cards at this point. So 30K, 60K blinds with the 10K ante. So with 7 players, it's 160,000 every orbit. And 7-handed, you'll start to notice it comes around relatively quickly.
So just think about that. Yeah, what did you say? 160K every orbit, something like that. And look at the chip stacks. You have somebody 330K, a 900,
Yeah, so he's basically got 14
everybody
hands.
under 1 million.
So Wheeler, and again, you do have to get cards now because you are playing relatively shallow. It's very helpful, anyways. Manetti's the one who's got a little room to work, I think. And so Wheeler's a very friendly player. He likes to show all his cards. Little does he know that we know when he bets that he has it. So Manetti with 32 bigs. In an ideal situation, I'd like to see that be like the middle stack at a final table, right? But
Oh, yeah.
it is what it is, and
Hey, it's like a 30-60 game. There you go.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll be commentating on a final table where people have over 100 big blinds. So
right.
to see everyone under 30 bigs definitely changes that dynamic.
Chad, you're looking a little tired over there.
It's been a long day. I started when these players did too, at 11 a.m. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen. I've been here all day too, across the street in the hotel, sleeping in bed. I was here in spirit.
Yeah, so it's 9:34 local time. So these guys have been playing for about 10 and a half hours today. Plus, they all got through one of the day one flights, which was, what, a 12-hour span there, Chad? Something like that? So that's a lot of poker in a weekend.
So we're probably going to see some action here. Beasley raised on the button with ace-jack offsuit.
Yeah, and Wanty correctly jams his 1.4.
7 folds.
Beasley's in a tough spot.
He's gonna call it.
He should call because
Yeah, I agree.
I think they realize, at this point, they got to
They have
take
to
some
flip for it,
chances.
yeah.
And that's what it is, 50-50 coin flip. And
Well.
the coin hits Beasley hard, 2 pair.
There's 2 outs left in the deck for Wanty.
And not anymore.
That's
Jason?
Ace is full on the turn for Beasley.
Wow.
And Wanty, who was my pick to win it from the get-go, is
took a tough one
he
there.
is going to be left with just under 400,000, it looks like.
And Wanty did not do anything wrong in that hand. It just the cards played themselves there, and he took the worst end of it.
he took a page out of my book on learning how to never win flips.
And you can see the dealer there must be more of a cash game dealer because they like to run out that board so fast. And you can, like, he's like going to flip it, and you can see Eric's like, hold on, we need some drama. Hold on, let everybody catch up. We've had dealers in here before where they just wipe, they're like, you know, and it's like,
Right,
they
there's no sweat, yeah.
they think they're running a cash game and they got to do it as quickly as possible for more downs. And it's like, no, we're on a televised broadcast here. Let's have a little drama. So Beasley, now your chip leader with 34 bigs. Lonty and Mets, desperation mode here for the most part. They're in the danger zone.
Now they might just try to play even tighter to ladder up, try to last longer than
I
the
don't
other.
know. Yeah, I know that's well, I can guarantee you the 3 middle stacks are going to play tight. Waiting for those 2 to bust. But the problem is we're playing so shallow now that even the 5-6 bigs are such a big chunk of anybody's stack.
I think we're going to see Beasley continue, not this hand with the Jack 3 offsuit, but I think we're going to see him put the chip lead to good use now. He seems like a player that recognizes the situation. He's got the chip lead. When when the opportunity presents itself, meaning when he's in position, he has decent cards. He's going to mix it up, I think.
And 8 folds.
So Worden, and that's what we were talking about earlier. If you just make some consistent raises, you're going to take a lot of these pots at this final table, and it all adds up in a hurry. And when it's 160K in orbit, you've got to be taking some stabs at those pots. You can't just sit idle, which is why poker tournaments have blinds.
Yeah, I mean, you see 2 players there with sub 10 big blind stacks, so you're really effectively playing effective 5 stacks here. It's just surprising that they don't pay attention to it, more throughout the tournament, because I'm obviously on the tighter side, and that's one of the biggest leaks that I have is just not playing aggressive enough. But I do realize as the antes and blinds go up, I have to increase my aggressiveness because you don't want to be blinded out. That's the worst way to lose, is legitimately just being blinded out at a final table.
I agree.
It's so depressing to get to make it this far, and then your skill doesn't even come into play at all because you've blinded yourself out.
And you'll hear a lot of players call it card dead when in actuality it's a lot of times. I mean,
just bad play.
Yeah.
I mean, I know because I've done it for years myself. I used to justify. I never get premium hands, and I just assumed that every other person was getting premium hands, and I never did. And it turns out that no, that's not really the case. They just know how to play better than I do.
Now Wheeler is going to limp the button and call a raise with an ace-3. Not a big fan of this line.
Yeah, ace-3 offsuit, especially limping the button. I mean, you have such a strong hand to start. You have to be raised folding here, in my opinion. Limping would be the last of the 3 options.
I agree.
And Monetti with a continuation bet.
Which I like. I like the way he's played the hand so far. So I feel like Monetti and then Beasley, as you mentioned earlier, are probably the 2 players at the table. That they actually have the biggest stacks as well, I believe.
Yeah, and I think Monetti's in a good spot here with that stack, and Beasley it was Beasley as well, right? That's over 30 bigs. So they have an opportunity here to take advantage of those 2 short stacks, knowing that the 2 in the middle, the couple guys in the middle, Cunoff and Wheeler, and even Worden, are probably not going to be too aggressive unless they have premium hands because they want to ladder jump to get that 5 big blind and 6 big blind stack out.
Well, imagine if you're sitting there, there's a pay jump, and you're sitting there, 2 players have 5 and 6 blinds. Either one of them, could be the next person out. So it really depends on who comes into the blind, next.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so funny how these final tables can be. Like I remember once
so
at Potawatomi, last season, the very first hand of the final table, the guy second in chips bluffed and lost his chips to the chip leader.
Yeah,
and it was over at that point.
He fired like 3 bluff bullets or something. Didn't he?
He had so many. The chip leader had so many chips that it was it wasn't going to take long.
But in his mind, he came out like I'm going to come out firing. I'm playing to win.
He had actually made a final table at Meskwaki. It was Randy Perkins not long before, and he finished like 7th or 6th. And he basically said to me, he's like, afterwards, I came to win this one. I wasn't going to make the same mistakes that I did at Meskwaki, which was what we mentioned earlier, just getting kind of blinded down and not taking the shots that he should have. And he took a shot in that hand, and it didn't work out for him, but...
he had heart.
Yeah, he had heart. I respected it.
4 bets.
So all these players are guaranteed $13,220.
Wow.
I like it.
This action on this hand is actually pretty intense. Beasley had raised under the gun +1 with 10-8 of hearts, and kind of was in the small blind with Ace-Jack on a 5-7 or 5. It's kind of crazy.
He's got heart.
Yeah.
I like it.
He just knows Beasley doesn't have it. Wow.
Yep.
Beasley
That's
just
a great
taking his
jam
time
by
here.
Cunoff.
Yeah, Beasley's just taking his time, saving face. There's no way he can call here with a 10 high.
Listen, we've seen crazier things probably.
How much is it?
But again, just posturing here, wasting a little bit of
Yeah,
time.
this is
Hollywooding,
pretty.
but it's on TV. We can see your cards. It's live stream, so you can go ahead and fold.
And I understand the intent of like taking 5-10 seconds, so you're not just getting bullied all the time. But this is going to be a pretty easy fold here. I'm also not a fan of when you know you're folding in the spot to make the dealer count out the other stack.
Yeah, I don't like that either, but it doesn't. My biggest pet peeve is when there's a pre-flop raise or shove and it folds to somebody and they ask for a count without looking at their cards.
Yeah,
That's
I
when,
agree with you.
That's what drives me nuts.
Yep. Can I get a count? Then the
Number
dealer
one-
counts it all out.
Number
and
one,
then
you should. Well, at least I feel, and I'm always aware of what my opponents have or close to it. I know
Yeah,
within
the ballpark,
ballpark. And then look at your cards, and if it's that close of a call, then yeah, get an exact count or what have you. But if you look down at deuce 7 offsuit, you can quickly fold. Don't waste our time.
You notice that more with the amateur players, and I think it's more that they don't know. They don't know any better. So like they think it's like something cool to do by asking for a chip count frequently.
Like I'm getting
you
all
don't
this
see pros
information.
hardly ever ask for chip count. Yeah, they think they're getting free information, but really just slows the game down.
Right. What are your thoughts, Jessica, on the shot clock? Because that's become a hot button issue. It's not something we've really had to consider or deal with on the MSBT because the 40-minute levels kind of force the action a little more. Our players are more recreational players. They're there to have fun, so we don't really see too much stalling or tanking. But
yeah, not very often. We're pretty fortunate, but
that WPT that you mentioned at Best Bet, that was the first time I played with the little, like the shot clock buttons, if you will. So you get 4 to start, I believe, and then as you get further down, you get 6. I never had to use any, but I love the idea of them because I don't tank hardly ever, and if I am ever tanking, those shot clock, the 4 that they give me would be plenty, It's like a 30-second shot clock. It starts when the action's on you. They count down, and if it's like a discretionary for them, so let's say it's at 30 seconds, they're like, okay, you need to act, and if you act right then, they usually don't take, the time button from you, but it speeds up the game and the rate of play, and it keeps people from tanking, which is causes the butterfly effect, if you will. So I really enjoy it.
So Metz goes all in, and Cunoff correctly makes the call here with ace-5 of spades.
it's shaping up to be a chop pot.
Yep.
Not anymore,
though. Well, Cunoff's got a wheel draw. Neither has a club.
And so the kicker is actually
the
going to play
6
here.
is going to hold.
Wow. You don't see that too
You
often.
look, you see Cunoff staring at it like, did that just happen? That 6 held? Yeah, you don't see that. Most often, that's going to be a chop, but that's a huge double up for Metz there.
I'm a big fan of the shot clock myself. I haven't played many events with it, but I've covered hundreds of poker tournaments, and I have sat there reporting on a hand that's taken 15 minutes to play out, and because people are tanking for 4 minutes debating are they going to just bet the flop, and then they check, and it's just so frustrating. And I really like to see the shot clocks, especially the high roller events.
I'd like them to be implemented in almost all tournaments, let's say 1600 plus, because there's just no reason for it. Because if you're playing a 1600 plus tournament, you should kind of already know what decisions you're going to be making. So a lot of the amateur players I have heard are kind of frustrated with it because they don't understand it. But it's like with all the other things that you've seen, all the other changes that you've seen in poker the past few years. Like you adapt to it, you learn, and then you implement into your play.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say is that when I did the Party Poker Millions event, they have an ante, the button antes the entire time. So not every player antes individually, which is amazing because, as you see, just covering it and playing, how often is the dealer constantly ante. So it's so nice to just small blind, big blind, and button ante.
Interesting.
One thing I really liked from I've seen in my tournament travels is in Australia, when they get heads up, they just do away with the ante. Because all it does is slow up, take an ante from each player. And at that point, that ante in relation to the stack sizes is so small and inconsequential. And it really did speed up the game. I really thought that was a good idea.
I'm all for speeding the game up.
That's what I like.
Especially when you're playing live. It's just so time consuming.
The one thing that I do like that and we haven't implemented it here yet because, as Chad mentioned, we generally don't have a lot of tanking in our events for the most part. But when we do get heads up, we've had a couple of pretty long, intense heads up battles. I think the WPT actually lowers the levels
Right,
from
to-
40 to 30 minutes or whatever it is.
I think they go like they're 90-minute levels
Down to 30.
Yeah, as soon as it's heads up.
Because when you're
30
heads
minutes.
up, you're playing so many hands in that 30 minutes most of the time that I actually think that that's a good idea and can save you some time at the end of the night.
Probably gonna see some action here.
Yeah, between the two big stacks, nonetheless.
Full call.
Maybe a little set over set action.
Wishful thinking. Once he's in there, just depressed that he has to look at a Jack 5 and can't be involved.
I was going to say there's probably a fair amount of flops here where nothing ever happens again.
That's actually a good flop
For both hands, yeah.
It goes check through on the flop. And Minetti, Minetti plays fairly tight, as we saw. He called earlier with the ace-8 diamonds and then snap folded too.
And he's got the I'm folding face
He
on
really
right
does.
now.
But like, eights on an ace-8, 9-3, when you raise pre-flop and the blind completed,
Oh, he just
you
looked
should,
at his
you
chips.
should really love your hand here. I mean, what do you think, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I would have continuation bet on that flop for sure. I'm still liking my hand on the turn. I'm still going to probably call a bet here if there was one. It goes check, check, and
So Minetti's going to take it with the eights.
And see, this is what you don't really see in a lot of the other bigger tournaments. Like we saw earlier, like the limp pre-flop at a final table. I've actually never seen that at the final table, any of the final tables I've played at. And then here you also see where, in a normal situation, a player may be busted in that spot, but because they kind of play it pretty close to the vest, you don't really see the action that you would normally. So it's kind of cool because you see that they're like not too aggressive, but the problem is because the blinds go up
Yeah.
and they're blinding out. That's the only downside of the way that they're playing.
We're still seven-handed, and there's really no sign of anything other than a cooler that we're going to lose anybody anytime soon. Especially with these. See, that's the thing is like, this is what the hands generally look like, right? You're seven-handed. There's not a lot. It's hard to get aces. It's hard to get kings. So when you see these types of hands, the people that are more aggressive are going to pick up all these pots. But nobody's really doing that here. They're only playing closer to premium hands. We're 20 minutes away from the blinds going up again,
Well,
and
one
we're still seven-handed.
Should be all in here in the small blind.
Yeah, and he
folds.
folded.
That's insane.
he has, what, 5 bigs?
Yeah.
Less than that.
Yeah. He should have definitely been all in there. But, like we were saying earlier, everyone has a different style of play. Unfortunately, when you only have 5 bigs and you have ace high, you really can't be folding it out.
It's one of those situations, honestly, where when I'm that short, I'll look at one card, and if it's the ace, I'm just going to go with
100%. 100%. Because you don't want to talk yourself into a bad fold. Especially because I think, like, in his mind, maybe he's trying to ladder up, but the other short stack had already doubled up. So, I think he's kind of in the league all by himself.
I like Kuna's style. He did open with the queen jack. He's going to bet second pair here. It's good most of the time. And I think he's going to get a fold from Wheeler, who's really got nothing other than a gut shot draw.
And just by the live read that he's giving off of looking really disgruntled with his hand. While this hand's playing out, I will bring up what you were talking about the other day, Brian, about what's so great about your all's series, the MSPT, is that it finishes so that all those who have normal jobs can be at work on Monday.
Yeah, we finished
great.
Sunday night.
Yeah, it was funny earlier today. 2 of the circuit grinders, as I'll call them, they travel the circuits, play. They're not quite pros, but they play a lot of poker. They said, you could do a day 3, and I said, well, no, we really can't because most of our players, our demographic, have to work on Monday mornings.
Yeah,
and a big part of that demographic can't just miss work. Can't call their boss and say, I got a poker tournament to play.
Yeah,
I'm going to miss
a
work.
little bit of a stigma sometimes with the poker excuse.
And so when you know that you are catering to weekend warriors and you have to finish by Monday, we really do have like the best possible structure to ensure that we finish, when we need
Sunday night. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 days worth, you literally can play Saturday. You don't have to play Thursday or Friday, even though it is nice. You have the option of 3-day ones. But you can come in Saturday and play Saturday and Sunday, and by Sunday night, at worst case scenario, let's even call it like worst case at 2 in the morning, you could be, 88K richer. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a great structure for those who have full-time jobs. And I remember what it was like for myself, like back in the day when I had a job, when I was playing poker on the side as well. It sucked. Like I couldn't play hardly any of the tournaments. Back then there was a lot of WSOP, circuit events.
Yeah.
You couldn't play them because they would never. They'd either start on Sunday or they would never finish in time. So it didn't allow you to get in and get to play it all. So this is really nice that you'll have this set up this way.
Yeah, obviously the MSPT is geared towards people with daytime jobs, and then when you do that and you draw those players out, guess who starts showing up? The
Right,
pros,
exactly.
right?
All the pros, yeah.
Yep.
So Beasley raised it here. There's only 75K more for him to call, so he does. He's going to need an ace or
It's
another deuce now.
It's just killing this dealer to have to pause between. You see, like he still hasn't adjusted. It's been like an hour, and he's like, I can't.
I know. He's like, they asked me to get out of here. Oh, it doesn't matter how. Like, okay.
No
And so-
hearts. Going to be a double there.
Yeah, so Wanty's going to double. We're not going to lose a player. Not that I want to lose Wanty, but like I would like to see some players.
Play.
Like, yeah, I'd like to see some more play and some deeper stacks. But
All the short stacks just keep doubling up.
yep.
Pretty soon, everyone's going to be a short stack. Until we see someone kind of take the reins here.
413 runners. We are down to 7. This is MSPT 112. The Denver Poker Open at Golden Gates Casino.
For those wondering, the Denver Broncos lost to the New England Patriots, and they lost hard.
What was the score?
It was, I don't know for sure, 40-something to 17 or
Yikes.
something like that.
Those Broncos are struggling. My Vikings, on the other hand, look like Super Bowl contenders with Case Keenum. Who would have thought?
And Teddy Bridgewater was back today. He was active for the first time in 2 years. We need some hands to collide here. We've been pretty dry for big hands running into each other.
Again, there's a lot of ways to win a poker tournament, and these are the hands you typically see when you're shorthanded. So somebody needs to take control. I think Cuniff wants to.
Yeah,
I think Cuniff has identified some spots. Like he picked up the pot with the Queen Jack. Like when he gets those, he just doesn't have a ton of chips right now. But I think if he can get some chips, he's going to be the guy that's willing to make some of those plays.
I like
from what
the
I've
shove
seen.
by Wani. It folds to him in the
Yep.
cutoff. He's got an ace. He knows the competition's playing pretty tight, so shove it and win it.
9 folds.
Not even a question.
Right?
8 deuce offsuit.
And when you're out.
Probably the 8.
Maybe both of them. Yep.
I was gonna say, do you have your Twitter?
Let's see what we got. Oh, we got Mets with some. Oh, here we go. I told you it's going to take a cooler, and this is going to be it. Mets and Manetti. Mets is in big trouble here. He doesn't know that yet, but he's about to find out because he's going to jam this 570K stack. I don't even know what he's waiting for. This should be already in the middle. What? So he didn't even go all in.
5.
He's got less than 10 big blinds, and he puts
4 folds. 5.
500K in, which is essentially all in. He left not much behind, and Manetti is,
8's all in.
yeah, so he's going to isolate.
9 folds.
And Manetti's getting some big hands and some big spots.
2 calls.
Wow.
Ace shows king, king.
So unlucky for Mets here. He's going to flip the queens. He's already grabbing his coat, heading out the door.
You get 2 outs.
This
Hit one of them. The dealer.
you heard Eric. It's like we need some draw. This dealer just da-da-da-da-da.
And they're so used to getting their downs, got to get the next
Yeah, I
hand
gotta go
to make
faster,
mistakes.
faster. So Will Metz is going to go out in, actually, he's going to go out in 7th place, Chad, and that is the exact spot he took last time at the Venetian event. His 2 final tables have both been 7th place. This one, he's going to take home a little over $13,000. There it is, $13,220. Everybody moves up a spot. And 6 to go.
And now those blinds and antes come all around that much faster, so...
Yeah, 160K a pop when you're playing six-handed.
I think we're gonna have
Good
to.
night.
Is he gonna be using one or two?
You will be using 2, I just moved it.
All right, cool.
So Eric's sliding people around to get a little better view of some of these guys. John Worden's been tucked back in the one seat. We haven't been able to get a good look at him. There he is now.
I've never seen this guy.
I think we're gonna have to get a little shock. We need a shocker on our dealer. So every time he tries to goes too fast,
Yeah.
that's the only way we're gonna train him. He's a good guy and a good dealer. Just likes to
Yeah, usually
see. He's
the
a good
opposite.
employee because he's going fast, right? He's like, I gotta get more money, more money.
9 folds.
And a lot of times in poker, that's what you want is to go faster because the game is slow enough already. But when you're broadcasting a final table,
I know that's what you were wishing for.
all right. So the pay jump is now everybody getting just shy of 17,000. It's a good weekend.
I'll take your random ace.
Manetti. So now I don't think he's gonna play this style, but I would really love to see him start 2xing almost
Yeah.
most every hand, especially every hand in position. And to be honest with you, and tell me what you guys think, but with this table and the current dynamic of stack sizes, I think 2x is plenty.
Yeah, I mean, because you're finding out all the information that you need, especially versus table is very passive. So 2x is fine. It's not like you're afraid to raise and get flatted from the blinds and be outplayed. So if you raise 2x, you can find out where you are if anyone kind of gives you.
By risking as little as possible, right?
Right.
So,
Goes on.
yep. And that's the right play there for Beasley. He's going to go all in with King Queen.
9 folds.
So the average chip stack is just shy of 1.4 million at 60K big blinds. So really pretty shallow.
Yep.
And for the first time, we really got a sizable chip leader there with Monetti.
Yeah.
51 big blinds.
And you can see he's got, 2.5 times the second stack. So this is an opportunity for him. I mean, for the most part, I would be raising almost every hand at this point until something changes. If somebody plays back at you, they generally have it at this table. Now, I will say, I think Konoff is probably one of the more difficult players here, and he is on Monetti's left. He seems to have a little bit of a looser range than the rest of them.
2 folds.
He hasn't been able to get on much of a roll to see how he would really play in that instance, but
5.
Yeah, their actual realized talent, you don't really see that much because they're playing so shallow.
yeah.
It kind of handcuffs them. You all have the headphones, and are they talking much?
Oh yeah, it was a lot earlier. It slowed down a little bit. I think it's gotten to the point where the long hours are starting to hit him a little bit, but for a while there, it was one of the more talkative final tables we've had.
We're down to 6. John Worden out of Fisher, Minnesota. Jason Beasley out of Denver. Cooper Wanty out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Mike Wheeler. Real name Terry. Prefers Mike out of Denver. Mike Manetti out of Littleton, Colorado. And Jerry Cuniff out of St. Paul, Minnesota. So in the final 6, we've got 2 from Minnesota and 1 from Michigan. Interesting.
Yeah, they traveled
Yep.
here for the MSPT.
Just to see Chad, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something else that attracts a lot of our players to Colorado.
8 folds.
Uh-huh.
7, 5.
Yeah, you dominate.
Things in Colorado that are legal that aren't legal in a lot of other places.
I mean, might as well.
And it was suited.
We're not saying that that's why these specific
Right,
players are here. They're here
The
to win some
the
money.
other 407 players that...
No, I got a better picture than that.
TJ Sweet says he likes your accent.
7s and
Oh,
9s.
thanks.
Aw.
Appreciate it, TJ. That's the Kentucky accent coming out, because I don't know how, I'm still tired somehow from being in bed all day. Wore me out, doing nothing.
Get in line, TJ. I've had 3 people ask me this weekend what Jessica's status is. Why don't they just ask you?
I don't know.
Oh my! Why would I know?
Unmarried, that's my status.
Yeah. Good call. But now for you ladies that are listening, Disco Chad Holloway is
Single and ready to mingle.
yeah,
Wow,
baby.
okay. I didn't know that about you, Chad. Put you up there on my, I'll give you the shout out on my Twitter feed.
I hope my girlfriend's not listening. No.
Hope she is.
Yeah.
Alright, so, here we go.
Wheeler is going to ship it.
Yeah, see, I'm probably getting a couple folds out of here.
5 folds.
I feel like that's the bottom of Wheeler's shipping range.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, probably. So you're single, Chad?
Yeah, for the most part. It's not a life that's conducive to relationships, you know.
That's true.
The traveling and what have you. So unless you meet somebody on the road, it's tough, you know. That's why you see a lot of the dealers and stuff are in relationships with other dealers and things like that.
They travel
you know,
together.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the poker community for sure.
Oh,
Well, I think we're going to see...
I'll talk more about that in 1 second.
Yeah, we're going to see an all-in here. Wheeler's going to get it in with his pocket 8s. And Beasley, who raised it up, is going to call him. Unless he just limps or just calls it not going to be a fan of it.
Come on, Wheeler. Make us proud.
You got the best hand.
Don't misplay your hand.
Seven raises.
Well, he raises it enough that half a stack, so...
Which means
Manetti's
he's
gonna get
committed.
away.
You can't ever fold at this point.
Yeah,
betting
Manetti can
450.
get away there.
9 folds.
The ace
Beasley
king.
is going to ship it.
Yep. Worden he's been fairly spot dead.
Small one.
Okay,
Call.
there we go.
Yep.
7 calls. Good luck, guys.
Well, it's a
So we've got your classic race. Beasley is a 52 to 48 fave, which means his aces and kings are live, I believe.
It's a fair fight.
Didn't get it.
Yep.
Not
And there's
on the
one of
flop.
them. And Wheeler is the one at risk here.
And you can see it on his face. He's going to need one of the remaining 8s.
Both 8s are live,
See if he can do it. He did
and he
not.
didn't get there. So my guy with the best dressed with the mint shirt is going to go out in 6th place.
He was the day 1-8 chip leader.
Yeah, Mike Wheeler, Denver, Colorado. Congrats to him. He's going to walk out of here with just shy of $17,000. Well done.
Me and Jason are doing all the heavy lifting around here. Come on, guys.
So we were talking about like being on the road and dating, right? So like it's almost an impossible spot to be in, to be like a traveling poker player or to run a tour or do the things that we do, because
No, I had to catch up.
your two options are, one, you date somebody who's not in the industry, right? Which is pretty difficult to do because they don't generally understand. You know, they might have an idea, but when we're on the road all the time, that's just an awkward spot to be in a relationship, right? So I think it's pretty, I don't think I have to explain why that's a weird thing, right? Or difficult to accomplish. So your other option is to date somebody who travels around with you, right? Like another poker player, for example. But that's, I kind of relate it back to like when I was in, here we got 10s, 10-9.
Oh, jeez.
Well, and Worden, he's actually probably had he just hasn't had much to work
He picks
with.
up a gut shot, and 8 will win it for him.
I'm spurted.
There are 4 8s in the deck. That's not one of them. I love watching the dealer. He just can't.
Yeah,
he's
he-
like,
he's
I gotta get.
Wow.
Oh, he hit it.
The 4 outer on the river.
And poor Beasley, because
That shot that on
Yeah.
you right there.
Beasley's the one who had the aces into Russell's 9s
Yeah,
earlier,
Beasley
and
is-
Russell turned a straight.
Wow, what a bad way to lose.
Beasley is getting his teeth knocked in here in some of these hands.
And by the way, Worden did nothing wrong jamming that 10-9. That's actually the right play in that spot. Any 2 cards, your hope. Plan A is he folds. Plan B is,
What was his stack size though?
I mean, he hit $1 million.
yeah, he had $1 million, but that, I mean,
I would have, yeah. I don't know that a shove is necessarily exactly what you
Well,
do.
he was out of position. I don't mind it.
So now here's the bad part about dating on the tour. Let's imagine that Beasley has a poker pro girlfriend, and now he takes this beat and he goes back to the hotel room.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a fun, fruitful night.
That's what I was saying. Like, how often are poker players are just grumpy people in general because we lose 99% of, especially tournament poker players, right? Like cash is a little different. You can be a little more consistent playing cash games, but like. It's so hard to win a tournament. When are you ever happy leaving a tournament, right? So, like, if you have two of you in a relationship trying to play tournament poker, you're just going to hate it. Somebody's always miserable.
It's a sick game that we put ourselves through because...
And the highs and the lows of, it's like when I was in college, I dated a golfer. And so, like, I told you this the other day, like, I got really, and I'm super competitive. So I got pretty good at golf. But then when you're golfing, like, how often do you ever be like, oh, I played perfect today, right? Like, you're just always grumpy about something.
No, I mean, I've had
And when there's two of you golf, like, you're always just grumpy. So it's just, those relationships are just difficult to maintain. So we're really in a no-win situation.
It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, for sure. Because if you try to date for myself, like trying to date outside of poker definitely didn't work because, especially I can understand from the other side of it, as a female in poker,
sure.
The guys, like, I feel bad like dating someone outside of poker because they have no idea. They just are like, you're surrounded by dudes all the time. Like, they have to be the most secure guy of all time. Like, and I could never do the reverse of that. Like, I could never date a guy that's surrounded by chicks all the time.
Well, I guess I'm off the market then.
Yeah. What chicks are you surrounded by?
As I grind out Jacks are better at a machine with Chad, Eric, and Brandon at midnight for quarters.
But no, for me, dating a poker player, yeah, it definitely has its ups and downs. But the upside is that you get to travel together and you understand the ups and downs of it. So it's not the worst.
That's true.
All right, back to the action.
Enough of our
dating
lackluster dating lives.
175. 4 folds. 5 folds.
Wow, we're gonna see a hand. It's not an all-in. Perfect.
I want to see like a king flop.
Oh.
Check.
Yeah, I got a 4-4 flop. First one to sneeze at.
Yeah, who wants to bet and take it? See, these are the pots that I think they need to identify better that clearly nobody wanted. And now Manetti's going to get there and take it away from Worden. But had Worden bet any street with a king-jack on an 8-4-4 board, that's actually a good spot to fire a bet. He would have taken that down.
Yeah, you got to realize that.
And those are so valuable, those chips.
Yeah, win the pots that nobody else wants, especially when you're in position like Worden was. And heck, it's 60,000 big blind. He could have put 75K in there and probably won 430,000.
Yep. All right. Well, we're still here at what? What are we at? 5? What are we at? I can't remember. 6. Oh, 5, right?
5.
We lost Wheeler in 6th place.
2 raises to 150.
Yep, we're down to 5. Yeah, as it's right in front of me.
4 folds. 5.
It's okay.
I only do this weekly.
8 calls. 9 folds.
Now, isn't this way more fun, Jessica, to commentate with two amazing people than to have to do it by yourself
Totally.
down in
Totally.
in Russia?
Yeah. No, I mean, the upside is like I would have players come on as special guests, you know? So that kind of changes it up a little bit, but it's nice hanging out with you all.
Earlier this year in July, I got stuck doing a solo commentary because the guy I was supposed to do it with, final table, Josh Reichard, and yeah, so it was just
And then
me.
he busted in 7th and was too grumpy to come commentate.
Which I can relate to because you know how grumpy I get when I bust a poker tournament.
See, it doesn't
I don't
bother
know.
me
If
at
you've
all.
got some obligations, yeah, I think I'd be fine. After a couple minutes, I'd be fine.
Manetti flops the nuts here. I don't think he's going to get paid on it. Oh, actually, Worden bet. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Manetti is getting paid on it.
Worden, he raised out of the gun with the ace-6 off, and then Monetti obviously defended from the blinds.
Yeah.
Just flops the nuts, no problem.
Now Worden shuts it down.
Yeah, another diamond might have spilled maybe one more bet possibly from Worden, but And then he's gonna him and haw with the old what to do here when I have the nuts here on the river.
Looks like about 400K.
That's 400.
And yep, Warden's gonna fold.
So the antes are going up.
40-80, and we are five-handed. Everybody's guaranteed over 22,000. Brian Molesky, Chad Holloway, Jessica Dolly here at Golden Gates Casino for the Denver Poker Open. One of the final MSPT events of the season. We do have 2 remaining. Make sure you get over to msptpoker.com. Check out the upcoming schedule. And, of course, we'll be back here at Golden Gates a couple of times in 2018, which include 2 360 regional events and 2 $1,100 main events. April and November, if I recall correctly. I don't have it in front of me, but Manetti's just getting hit by the deck here. I don't think he's going to get much action, though. No, he's not going to get much resistance here. It's going to fold to him on the button. He's going to open. And if Cunoff had an ace, I feel
He
confident.
just limps the aces on the button. I don't feel
I
like
don't
it's a
mind
good
it.
move, but I'm excited to see it played differently.
Yeah, it feels fishy, but at this final table, it is a little bit more normal.
Yeah, we saw that limp earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the worst thing we've seen today.
And a piece of it for both Cunoff and Worden.
Yeah.
It could get interesting here.
Yeah, like, so.
He's gonna lead into it.
I'm not a fan of leading into this pot with that stack. I'd much rather be more aggressive in position.
The thing is, though, Monetti, that's like a pretty bad flop for aces here with both the blinds. I'm just surprised he limped the button, that's all. He's never folded.
So now his limp on the button is getting a lot of action.
Yeah. Imagine you're sitting here with aces. What do you...
Well, now I raise.
He has ace of diamonds at least.
There's
so.
590 in the pot. And he's just going to try to end it right here.
He just moves all in.
See if either of these guys just think he's playing big stack poker with some sort of draw, maybe. Did he limp the button with a hand like a 10 jack? Does he have 2 diamonds?
This is a pretty standard, easy fold for Cunoff because he already has one caller after him. It's unlikely his second pair is better than both players.
Yeah, Worden is the one that's in.
Now, yeah, Worden has to decide if Monetti is potentially on a draw. And 4 kicker, no good.
His limping worked out for him.
Yeah, he got a 300,000.
He knew they were both going to flop something.
And that Cunoff would lead out second pair into a 3-way pot.
I don't mind fighting with hands like, premium hands, aces, kings, and queens out of the blinds when you kind of know your opponents, but flatting the button there.
He's got a 3-1 lead on the second stack.
Yeah, he needs to just
keep
the pedal to the metal.
Yeah. And those 3 middle stacks are waiting for Wanty to bust to move up. I mean, it's a nice little pay jump.
Yeah, here
To move from
8-7, you
fifth
got
to
the
fourth.
chip lead, given the dynamics, the stack sizes.
Yeah.
You got to be raising here.
Definitely a raise. Blinds are 40-80. This needs to be 160 to 200.
Yep, well,
Yeah,
in the middle.
great. Good raise.
9 folds.
And once he gets through Cunoff, he's going to feel really good about this hand.
2 folds. 4 folds.
And he's going to think, wow, that was easy. Let me do it again.
Yep.
He should do this fairly consistently because guess what? If he continues to raise to 160 or 175 and only picks it up 50% of the time, he's going to maintain his stack. And eventually, when he picks up a hand, somebody will try to play back at him and he'll stack them.
You can double up anybody at this final table and still have the chip lead. It's
Yeah.
a nice spot to be in.
Yeah.
Especially when you can leverage with 5 people, you're leveraging 4 other players against each other,
Yep.
trying to ladder up.
This right here is the only... I would tighten my range a little bit in this position that Manetti's in now, first act. Other than that, I'd be relatively aggressive. So this is a good hand for him to fold. get a little bit of respect back. Cunoff is probably going to jam here. This is 5-handed. Ace-9 is fairly strong 5-handed. He's sitting on about 12 bigs.
9 raises 175.
So he's going to play it a little bit lighter. The nice thing about this type of a raise is it does disguise his hand a little bit. If he just jams like I suggested, it looks
if you
weaker.
just jam, you run the risk of running into a bigger ace, bigger pocket pair.
Yeah.
This way you can at least kind of feel out the field. He's
Yeah.
going to get a call here, too.
Yeah, you saw he just called off like a big portion of his stack.
Could be the old stop and go. He hits any part of this, he's going to shove it.
5
All
chips. 9 is all in.
And I don't know what the flop is, but I'm guessing he didn't hit a part of it.
Yeah, I think I see a couple face cards out there.
There it is. Nothing for either player, but
That's a gutsy jam by Cunoff, completely whiffing. And
Yeah, but he knows the stack size of.
yeah,
Based on his
you're right.
stack.
It's only half a stack, so
Well, plus he didn't go all in pre-flop, so you take all the queens, pretty much all the queens out of his range, and it's very rare that he'd be
yeah, if he had a 5 or 4, he shoves it.
right. Exactly. He would open rip because he'd try to take some of the equity away, and maybe get some full equity even. For all this ace has to fold out.
Nine fold.
ba-da-ba-ba. What do you think? American Idol? No?
Definitely, or McDonald's intro.
This could be interesting here. If it folds to Waddy, he shove it.
Yeah.
He does, and
Yeah.
Monetti's got so many chips, and it's not that much more to call. 185,000 and eliminate a player. Queen Deuce ain't pretty, but
I call with Queen Deuce here.
I
for
call
that,
any
for that
two
amount.
cards
Yep.
here when I have that chip lead.
Yep. I think it's a pretty easy call.
Yeah, and he does. And he's got the best hand. But based upon the cards that have been folded, Wani actually the favorite here. But he will need to improve to stay alive.
Like the wheel draw.
Yeah, our board not picking up the flop there.
Jack of spades.
There we come.
And there it is. That's a
Little
bad
slow.
That's a
flop,
bad flop,
for
yeah.
Wani.
And we can just get a read off of his reaction to know.
He still has 9 outs, a 3, a 6,
A 5 would chop,
chop, and he doesn't get
That's
any of
not
it. So we're going to lose Cooper Wani out of Ann Arbor, Michigan in 4th place.
He was my pick. 5th place.
Fifth place.
5th place.
Yeah, to me probably be easier.
You got to be able to count to play poker. That's why I don't play poker. He's going to take home $22,034. Congratulations to Cooper Wani, and we are down to 4.
And Minetti just extends his chip lead.
Yeah, just
Look at that. 15 bigs, and 14 bigs for the other 3 players. This, to me, with that chip lead, just exploit it, leverage it. They're going to let them try to play against each other, outlast, ladder up in the money.
It's a phenomenal scenario. The only slightly better scenario is if one of the 3 remaining players had like 7 bigs and the other 2 were at 15, because then he could just lean on the 15s all day.
Yeah, we expect it probably to go pretty fast here, though. The
I would
blinds are
think
at
so.
40, 80K now with a 10K.
2 folds.
So each round is very, very costly, and you're playing 4-handed, so you need to be way more aggressive here.
Yep. And there you see Beasley finally getting a spot to open up the range a little bit. And I know Cunoff would like to play back, but Jack 3 is just not the right hand. Everybody guaranteed just shy of $30,000 here. 4 to go. Your 4 players, John Worden, Jason Beasley, Mike Minetti, and Jerry Cunoff. We've got 2 players from Minnesota, 1 from Denver, Colorado, 1 from Littleton, Colorado. Minetti in control. We are on hand 82 of this final table. See what we got to work with here. So first to act is Beasley under the gun. That 8-7 is pretty.
Three calls, 80.
Oh, he just he limps under the gun.
Interesting.
And then, so Manetti just called behind.
It's a fine call for Manetti. He's
Yeah,
all the chips,
I agree.
And he's on the button in position.
And it looks a little suspicious when Beasley with that stack limps under the gun, right? So, four-way flop.
4 players to a flop.
Yeah, I would have folded kind of standing.
And Cunoff with the only diamond, but it's a deuce. He's not going to feel real pumped about that.
3 checks.
Manetti actually probably thinks he does have the best hand here.
8 bets for the second.
He has the best position, so I like him. I don't mind
Yeah,
that
when it
here.
checks to him, he's going to find out where he's at, yeah.
And that's the thing, when you're playing against all passive players, it's just so easy to take down spots here.
And he does, right? He's starting to figure out that if he just bets a little bit, he's going to scoop all these pots.
Yeah, when no one shows any aggression and they all check to you, it's a great spot to be in when you're the
Yeah.
chip leader.
It's interesting there too, because everyone was sitting on 15 bigs. They each lost a big right there, and that all went into Manetti's stack.
It separates. Now he can. I guess I was gonna say I was about to say my math was bad, but I was gonna say he could double somebody up and still be a 2-1, but that is not the case. In any instance, he's got basically a 4-1 lead over the second stack, and he's got 8s.
Do you have a diamond?
Nope.
Oh, the diamond's good.
So Manetti's gonna open here under the gun.
8 raises.
And it's funny we're saying under the gun, but they're only
four-handed.
only four-handed, so it's just funny because of, you're in the cutoff, you're under the gun, you're in the
That's
the
why
cutoff, you're in the hijackets cutoff.
Yeah, that's why I paused there for a second, because I was like under the gun, but he was right next to the button, and I was like, oh yeah.
I'm trying.
Takes another one. And these guys are going to have to fight back pretty soon. And so now he can double up Beasley.
And your big blind down here for 8.
No, my math is still bad.
Listen, stop trying to say. stop trying to will it into existence.
I know, right?
It's gonna happen. Worden finally finding a spot to bet.
2 raised to 200.
You can tell he hasn't raised in a while. He had to think through what the correct amount was.
Yeah, I mean, most of the players have been playing fairly tight, but also they've been pretty card dead. As we were talking about earlier, there is a difference in being card dead when you're at a final table playing four-handed than earlier in the tournament. So when you're card dead and you're only playing four-handed, it does make it a lot more difficult because you are very handcuffed. All the other players can play the hands around you, and you're just kind of stuck waiting for your spot. So it's definitely frustrating.
Yeah,
You've seen that stat, and not a very aggressive final table.
Yeah.
18% was the top for
Jeez.
pre-flop raises.
yeah. So at this final table, and I think it was Manetti, right? And he's had some hands, and he's been pre-flop raising recently to bump that percentage up to 18, which is the crazy part. So yeah, definitely
Fold.
not high
You gotta
percentage.
I would just move all in a spot like this, but
8 raised.
he's going to raise it, and it's going to have the same effect, I think.
190.
I agree. I would have kept it simple and shoved, but
That way you take all the decision making away. You shove and you don't have to think about it anymore.
Right, yeah.
And you have enough chips to be applying the pressure there.
Yeah, you shove, and there's only one decision to be made, and your opponent has to make it. Whereas if you raise there and your opponent shoves,
Now you have a decision to
you've got
make.
a tough spot to decide about.
nonetheless, Manetti doing what we were hoping somebody would do for most of the final table.
It's amazing.
He's kind of figured
I'm
it
glad
out.
to see it because there's so many times we're screaming at the TV screen saying, "Just raise," you know, and they don't.
Yeah, and he's definitely taking control here, as he should, and doing a great job of chipping up off these other three players. At the same time, bleeding them down Yeah, this is probably.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
We raised 200,000,
I think we'll see some action on this hand.
eightfold.
Yeah. So
If by Worden shoving all in and Beasley folding, then
And I think Cunoff likes to be active. He just hasn't had much to work with here. And Worden's going to shove, and Beasley, the Jack 10 suited looks pretty, but he knows that if Worden
He may
comes
not
over
be
the
shoving.
top,
He may just be calling here. Yeah.
Two calls, two.
He actually just defends the ace king out of the big blind.
see, and he's out of position. I don't know. I don't like that at all. I would have just jammed the ace king. You?
In this spot, I would jam because, well, if I'm him, I'm not, as me, I play a little bit differently, but if I'm him, I would definitely jam. I think because a lot of time he'll end up folding, like, as you see, like he's c-betting here on this queen 2-2, but like, what are you representing here?
Yeah, right.
But if he jams, then he takes that away from, being outplayed, but he also takes away a lot of the equity of getting bets in with inferior hands, so,
Now,
if he had the plan in his mind about why he was flatting, that's one thing.
Now, Beasley's in an interesting spot here. I would call here if I was Beasley. I know he doesn't have a ton of chips, but there's a lot of turn cards that can come that makes his hand pretty solid in position. And then if Worden checks the turn to him, he might be able to take advantage, no?
No, I wouldn't call with Jack 10. Like, if I had Ace King there, I'd be more apt to call. But when you have a player like Worden leading into you on Queen 2-2, like, what are you hoping to take away from him? You know what I'm saying? Like, Jack 10, he has, like, hardly any equity in his hand because he could be crushed already. Does that make sense? Like, I get what you're saying.
Nothing makes sense to me, so...
No, but I get the reason why. I get why you're saying it, but he's literally be calling a quarter of his chips off, and he could be drawing pretty much dead. That's the only downside of flatting there.
All right, so we're still four-handed. Worden picking up ace-jack again. So Cunoff... Okay, it looks like he's just picking out raising chips, which is probably the best spot he's been in a while, with a king 7 suited on the button.
Yeah, he had what, 900K at 80K, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that raise. How about yourself, Chad? He raised it. He has king 7 of hearts on the button with
12 bigs.
Yeah.
And just either shove or fold it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I'd be way more apt to shove because, given who the blinds are, but I would definitely not be raising. It's like you're raising off of 12 or 11 big blinds. Like, it's just a bad spot because, like we were talking about earlier, you could shove with the king 7 of hearts and get a better hand to fold, but when you only raise with it, you're never going to get that situation.
To be fair, I like him raising it there better than limping it. You see some limping on the button there with
that's
12,
that's true. Touché,
11 big blind stacks.
Yeah, and I will say this: it doesn't. He still had 12 bigs and four-handed. It's not a super deep. Obviously, Manetti's got a nice stack at this point, but I do see some players playing that they're not afraid to play down to 6-7 bigs before they jam. Ryan, we've mentioned it before. Guys like Ryan Hartman do that very, very well. So some players, I'm a little more aggressive because if I double, I want 25, 26 bigs, right? So I play a little more aggressively.
Well, I think he ended up calling. Now they both got a piece of it. It's going to be hard for...
This should have been a check. This should have been a check because now you're taking away all of his bluff equity.
Right.
Worden's taking... And I understand what Worden's doing. He's scared. There's 2 spades out there. He has an ace. He just wants to take it down right away. But... you have way more equity in your hand and you get more value from your hand if you check because you have the jack of spades in your hand. You literally have the nuts. But I'd much rather see a check here because now you're getting him to fold so much of his c-bets.
I don't disagree, but now that he has bet it and you're in Cunoff's shoes, you just put in half your chips. You have middle pair with top kicker.
But look at your opponent.
Yeah. And I was going to mention that at this final table, we've seen very few bluffs or semi-bluffs. Like, I think for the most part, you just have to assume that they have it and pick better spots.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that.
Worden's going to take it down. We'll get an updated look at the chip stacks here. Manetti's still going to be the chip leader by a fair margin. Worden chipped up a little bit, though. Now, this is a good opportunity to pick heavily on Worden and for Manetti to pick on Worden, knowing that there's a 6 big blind stack out there, which is Cunoff. And Cunoff has to pay the big blind next hand.
9 folds.
So Worden's going to pick up another one. He needs to raise here.
Sorry, you said 200? 2 raises 200. Beasley is all in. 8 folds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beasley snap it all in with Jack 10 from the small blind. Back over to Worden, who should be making this call. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, I'm calling here when I open it.
How about you, Brian?
I do call, yes. And I think it's a pretty quick call
And
for
Worden
me.
Worden calls too.
Beasley was hoping that he still had enough fold equity there that...
And you waited a lot of spots. But
Yeah.
given your opponent is Worden, I don't know that I would think that spot.
And a good flop for Beasley takes the lead.
Yeah.
Pairs the 10.
And we've seen Beasley take a couple of rough beats at this final table, and he's still around. He's got an opportunity to double up if he can fade a king or a queen, and he does.
Jason?
So the aggressive move pays off for Beasley. He's going to be up to 1.8 million, and
I think neither of those two guys right there are happy, Manetti and
Cunoff.
Yeah, because he wanted to ladder up.
Yeah.
Than a short stack.
Well, it's a big pay jump.
Yeah, and I'm sure in Manetti's shoe, he probably realizes Beasley probably be the toughest heads up
You and I
opponent.
roll the
Yep.
same way.
Look at Cunoff. He's over there. Cunoff is the one most disappointed because he's on a short stack, and he almost had an opportunity to, bump up, probably 10,000?
2 numbers on the prize pool. What do I have to make to get even? And what's first?
Yeah, so it's over a 10K pay jump.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at Cunoff. I just love that look in his face. He's like, ugh.
It's such a brutal feeling.
Yeah, like I could have just made 10,000 if that king queen holds. And so just like that, Beasley is still he's up to number 2 in chips. Cunoff still short. Needs some help. Worden, who had done a nice job building his stack, had it cut in half there. Back to the grind.
It's always a grind, isn't it?
Yeah, it's never easy. The only one at this final table who hasn't really had a bumpy road is Manetti. It's been fairly smooth to get to where he's at.
2 folds. 3 folds.
I can take a walk.
Yeah, I know.
He's gonna fold it. Is he gonna fold it here? No.
Doesn't look like it.
8 raises 240,000.
And Cunoff is like, just gimmies.
9 folds.
To say,
Shows the 9 deuce. Cunoff doesn't see it. Maybe he did caught a glimpse of it there.
Manetti was like, he's looking at him like,
Tap him on the shoulder. You see
look
I've
at
left you? Just says 9 deuce.
Monster shit? No.
He was determined to make
He
sure.
had
he's-
to, had to rub it in.
I don't think Cunoff is in a joking mood right now on his 4 bigs.
Yeah. I feel your pain,
He's
buddy.
serious.
I feel your pain.
He's here to win this tournament, and he's not amused by the 9 deuce. Well, Beasley. Let's see what Cunoff's at. So Cunoff's going to be able to get out of the way of this 10-6 here because Beasley's going to raise.
200,000.
It's frustrating for Cunoff right now though because he's getting so short and he can't find a spot,
Yeah.
to get in there. Because he knows that any hand that he plays is with that stack is likely to get called by somebody.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be, you want to be the aggressor if you can, especially, even if you only have 4 bigs. it's still an effective stack. One double up here, you know, I mean, the next stack is 12 big, so
Yeah.
he's really not that far behind. It's just unfortunate that he hasn't been able to pick up anything to go all in with.
Brian Molesky, Jessica Dolly, Chad Holloway here at Golden Gates Casino, Black Hawk, Colorado. 413 runners down to 4. Chasing 88K up top.
8 raises, 225.
And,
Maddie's gonna raise.
Well,
yeah, and
if
that's the best hand and best spot.
Oh, yeah.
Frustration of not having any spots.
But how brutal! They
that
both
is
have
spades.
spades. It's so depressing.
Shows a 7 of spades. 9 shows king deuce of spades.
That being said, he's, you know, not that huge of a dog.
A little less than 2 to 1. 2 live cards.
Wow.
Spade board.
That's a terrible flop.
Cunoff has 6 outs. He's got a king or a 2. That's not one of them. 1 card, 6 outs. Otherwise, he's going to be eliminated in 4th place. And another bounty for Manetti.
Close.
That'll do it.
Wisconsin.
Close.
That'll do it. Jerry Cunoff played fantastic, but he is going to go out in 4th place. We are down to 3.
More chips for Manetti. Extends that chip lead.
Yep, and again at the hands of Manetti. Should be Machete at this point, the way he's just knocking him out.
I was like, I'm gonna smash him with
Manetti the Machete. I think he's got a poker nickname.
But just shy of 30K for Jerry Cunoff. I think it wouldn't shock me if we see Jerry next week out in Wisconsin. It's not
Just found,
it's not too bad of a drive from his home in St. Paul. Probably 4 hours.
His newfound fortune.
Yeah.
We do see that quite a bit on the MSPT when players make a final table and get a nice score. They want to try to keep that momentum going,
Ride the heater, right?
which I do believe in. By the way,
Momentum.
yeah, in poker you're playing good, you're feeling good. It
Yeah.
really, if you win a tournament, you should be playing a few more tournaments after because I really believe that there is such thing as momentum in poker.
So your chip leader is Mike Manetti, still hanging around. He's had a couple of rough beats, but Jason Beasley second chips, and John Worden still in the hunt, down to 11 bigs. It is 3-handed, so that's going to come around fairly quickly, but he's still got a little room to work. And Manetti picks up another hand. He's a tough guy to beat here at this final table today.
Yeah, it's easy when you're getting dealt all the premium hands and your opponents literally have nothing.
8 raises,
I probably had a dozen
240.
today.
All right, Chad, well, we got a second here. Why don't you tell us about your thoughts on the comic book stores in Denver, Colorado?
So Denver is home to the largest comic book store in the world, Mile High Comics, which if you grew up in the late 80s, early 90s like me and read comic books, you'd recognize Mile High Comics because they used to take out ads in the comics, and you could do the mail order comics, and it was the largest superstore. So the first time I came to Blackhawk, I knew I had to make a pit stop at Mile High Comics. And as it turns out, they do a monthly charity poker tournament inside their gigantic store. And when I say gigantic, I mean imagine like a super Walmart.
Really?
It's
Yeah,
that
it's
huge?
Walmart
Wow.
Supercenter, but just comic stuff.
Wow.
It's
I
huge.
didn't realize there were that many comics.
I've because Chad likes to do that in most of the towns that we stop through. This time we didn't travel out here together, but I have hit a number of comic book stores with Chad through our travels. But Mile High Comics is not one, just because we travel out here separately when we come to this one generally.
So you fly first class, and I got to drive. I drive 17 hours. No, but it works out well because we come straight from Meskwaki. So Eric and we got a pit stop. We found a town called Sterling, Colorado, which is on the eastern part of the state, and we stop there every time, and we get to do our laundry, and then there's a movie theater there, really small movie theater, small town, and we always catch a movie there. So.
See? Not too bad.
Oh, some quality time.
How nice.
2 is all in, 3 folds. Count question.
Not sure what Manetti is thinking about.
It's the old let's get a count when we're going to fold. And while we're waiting for Manetti to fold, Chad and I are going to, speaking of quality time, we're going to do a little quality time here next month. Chad and I are heading, because Chad's a big Miami Dolphin fan, and we've got some business to do out towards the East Coast, so Chad and I are going out to Buffalo.
Ooh, we did get a call here.
Oh,
That's
wow.
on Rooks.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That's why I started telling the story. I thought he was posturing.
I think Manetti's thinking, yeah, Wharton's probably got ace, two face cards, and I'm drawing live at least. So.
Well, you can see it. It's almost a flip here.
Yes.
53-47.
Wow.
Jack Queen.
Worden well out in front with his pair
Yeah,
of aces.
And that's
that'll
gonna
do it. So a little blip on the radar for Manetti. That's probably a fold he could have made. But he's still going to be okay. If he can finish off Worden there, man, he's going to...
He would have been
Be-
sitting in
yeah.
a good spot.
You know, he was going for 88K right there.
And so in December, we're going to go to the Dolphins. We'll be visiting the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
And we were talking earlier today about getting tickets. And I said, Brian, let's just wait a few weeks because I'm pretty sure both the Dolphins and the Bills are going to continue to lose. And I ought to drive, drive those prices down.
And it's the middle of December in Buffalo.
It's gonna be really warm.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
And Chad's gonna come all geared up in with his Miami Dolphins cape.
I go head to toe Miami Dolphin stuff when I go to games.
And I told him I'll put on like a Buffalo hat to make sure we don't get our butts kicked, by all the Buffalo fans.
I've been known to do the face paint.
I believe
Dolphins game.
Absolutely, I believe that.
They're gonna be freezing.
Yep. Well, Chad and I'll cuddle up. We'll keep warm.
3 seat raises 200,000. 8 folds. Two folds.
Did you love? Yeah.
Shows ace of diamonds.
The only person I don't look with is Nils. It was his big. I knew I was good.
Jam it. Auto jam.
No, I got your in. Big line.
Oh, 200.
8 raises 200. 2 folds.
Call.
3 calls 200. It's good. Heads up. Check, check.
For Beasley, flops bottom set, but
3 bet.
nothing there from Manetti.
225.
Though he's not drawing dead, he's got 4 outs if he calls, which he's not.
Nope. Makes the fold. And BC's like, son of a gun. He was looking to make a big move there.
Got the Ducks.
If he could have doubled up, it would have put him into the chip lead.
Five more minutes and those blinds and Annie's going to go up.
So now to put it in perspective, we're gonna soon be getting into, and this is more like what it should look like. We're finally at a good spot with the number of players relative to the blinds. But Chad, we were out here as we mentioned way earlier in the broadcast where we got to that 5100 level 8-handed. It was insane.
Right.
It was. I mean, imagine how short they were playing because nobody ever busted.
3 raises to 200,000.
And Manetti has done a nice job here during the last hour of being relatively aggressive. He took a hit there recently, but the reason he could afford to take that hit is because he had done a nice job picking up a bunch of the small plots during the last hour.
And he defends the big blind here. Three-handed, you got to loosen up a little bit. Flops a gut shot. So he's looking for a 6, which would also pair Beasley.
Turn coming.
5 or 7, it would give him the lead as well. Now, that's a good card for Beasley. He raised pre-flop, represents it, and it's going to take it.
Yeah, so Beasley doing a nice job here, even playing out of position against Manetti, taking down a couple pots. Trying to chip up, trying to put a dent in that massive chip lead of Manetti. He's getting there.
Another hand for Beasley, a little bit of a heater here. I'm thinking he's going to raise and take this one.
Yeah, he's starting to look pretty comfortable now making those raises, isn't he? Snaps it out there pretty quick.
And, you know, for all the ups and downs that he's had, kudos to him for hanging in there. And now he's, you know, building a stack back up, ready to compete for this title. Because, like I said, he got his teeth knocked in a little bit earlier.
Twice. Yeah,
and
with
that
two
was
rough
just
ones.
that was at the final table. He had similar experiences in the, you know, final 3 tables. There were a couple times where I saw him get it in as a big favorite, only to, you know, see that river card give his opponent a double.
Now he's up to 2.4 million.
You know what, if you bet
So
that-
John Worden, from Fisher, Minnesota, the farmer,
Big blind 80.
his first MSPT cash. Jason Beasley out of Denver, Colorado, his first MSPT cash. He's in sales.
Eight folds. Raising host.
Jessica, who just took a quick break. You missed Beasley scoop a couple pots.
3 raises to
Wow.
And he's Beasley is getting extremely comfortable making raises now that he's got chips, and you can see he's good at it. He's good. Now that he has chips, he's pretty. You can see that he's
I like the pressure he's applying, that's for sure.
yeah. Garbage is over there.
Hand me water.
Got to stay hydrated
So
here
that-
in a high altitude.
So just so I'm clear, Jessica, by waving your empty bottle in front of
I
my
was trying not
face,
to talk.
that means I need another water.
Yeah, I was trying not to talk, but.
So, by the way, this is what's-
Not,
This is what's awesome about MSPT final tables. Chad and I see this on a weekly basis, but we're playing for just shy of 90,000, and most of our prize pools too are, you know, first place is often 6 figures. But we've got John Worden, the farmer.
okay.
We've got
nice.
Jason Beasley, who's in sales, and we've got Mike Manetti, who owns a marketing company.
There you go. Infusing the poker economy with even more money. It's perfect.
I love it. That's what this is all about. I don't think we had a single pro at our last Iowa final table either. Generally, it's kind of a mix. You know, you'll get some traveling pros, some circuit pros, with, you know, a lot of daytime job recreational players. And more often than not, the daytime job recreational players get the
take-
better of them.
Yeah, for sure. It's like trying to navigate through a minefield.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why poker's so awesome, because anybody can have a shot. And I've told this story before, and I think I talked to you about it on break, was how the difference between being a bad and tight player and a bad and loose player. And my dad, who's terrible at poker, but he likes to come play like the satellites every now and then when we're at Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, I'll hook him up with a satellite seat or something. And he's tight bad. So like he's so tight he just blinds out all the time, so he never ever has a chance to do anything.
Right.
Whereas you can be a bad player but play really loose and actually have a shot to hit cards and chip up or get people to fold because they have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, it's so
So
true.
like you're far better off being a loose bad player than a tight bad player, and it's not even close. I'm not saying that about any of these players,
Yeah, but your
obviously. I'm saying that about my dad and like just recreational players in general. All 3 of these guys have done a masterful job here at this final table.
So you see the blinds are 50K, 100K now? With a 10K ante.
Yeah, just went up. Oh, and while you were gone, I mentioned that
50, 100.
a couple of events here in Colorado, we got to this level 8-handed.
Wow.
It was
That's
so,
insane.
yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, nobody ever busted. And whenever there was somebody all in, they double up. So Manetti, back in business, picking up kings.
On the button. So now he's at aces and kings on the button. It must be nice.
Yep.
It's a raise, 300.
And Beasley is, now that he's got some chips to work with, has really picked up the aggression.
Wow.
He's going to fold here.
I knew it.
And he showed, there's been a lot of showing cards here at this final table. Not a big fan of that.
That's pretty.
That's what I was talking about earlier. That's what I was speaking to about how the players are so friendly. It's like playing back in 2006. Everyone's so nice and like I'm telling you, just like this and showing each other their hands. It was happening the entire time I was playing.
You wouldn't know they're playing for 90,000.
No, definitely
Really
not.
big when the blinds are 300,000 and there's only 8 million in play.
Lighten that up. 2 folds.
I'm a ninja too.
4 calls. 8
I
checks.
had a feeling.
Good. Check. 4 checks, 8 checks.
There's 7 out there. Give each player an open ender.
4 checks.
I like the way your head's thinking, but
So Manetti's going to turn top pair. He's going to bet and take it down.
Call that child. The bottom of that shot.
413 runners down to 3. You can see there everybody is guaranteed just a few bucks shy of $40,000. It's a 14K pay jump too.
I won one playing blackjack last week. Online. That's the
How do
sick part.
they send
Are
it
you
in
at 3 or 4?
$3,000 increments or what?
No, I cash it out with Bitcoin and do 10K at a time.
You got that?
So Saturday I deposit 1,200. Sunday I cash out 10K. Monday I cash out 10K.
Raise.
Tuesday I cash out 10K, and Wednesday I cash out 9,000. And then I lost the last 1,200 I had on there, and I haven't played since.
Yeah, stay away from it for a minute, okay? Because you're like, I can't lose.
I'll never win $10,000 playing blackjack because I will never bet enough to put myself in a position to win $10,000 playing blackjack. I won $90 playing blackjack the last time I played, and I was king of the world.
8 raises to 300. 2 folds. 4 folds. It's just heads up blackjack.
I feel like there's a big hand that's going to be taking place soon. Maybe I'll just will it into existence.
Yeah, and I mean the sick part is the most.
Will Harder.
I'll try. An 8 a.m. flight, so.
Yeah.
No, I
I still got to tear down.
Oh, jeez.
We got.
I still got to drive back to Iowa. I don't have to.
Yeah. Why
We
don't y'all
are.
go to sleep tonight?
We want to get to back to Iowa
Yeah, tell 'em
because
why.
tomorrow at 7 p.m.
This is insane.
there is a tournament at Meskwaki Casino, a nightly tournament.
On your way
uh,
back to Madison.
Yep, and the Miami Dolphins play tomorrow night, so I want to get there, play a
watch the
poker
game.
tournament, have a couple drinks. Yeah.
275.
And if we leave in the morning in order to make it there in time, because we lose an hour going back
Yeah.
to Central Time Zone, we would have to leave like at 6:37 in the morning anyways. So me and MSPT Eric and Brandon, who's doing the live updates right now, are going to take turns. You know, one of us in the back napping, the other two.
The first hour
keeping
will
each
be the
other-
most difficult because it's through the mountains in the middle of the night
You're on.
with
Yeah.
a truck and trailer.
No way. I'm gonna be leaving tonight. Get some sleep.
If I
I
lose,
will, but it'll be just in
Yeah,
the
but
back
you don't
of
know
the
how
vehicle.
these guys sleep. No. Eric will be the only one who won't get sleep. These guys will sleep for 10 hours in the back of the truck.
Eric says he's going to get sleep, and then he just sits on his phone for hours on end.
That's true.
It's a long, boring drive from once you get out of the mountains and to the east side of Denver. From the east side of Denver all the way,
There's
back,
nothing.
yeah, through the eastern side of Colorado, through Nebraska,
all the way to Madison. There's
Yeah,
nothing,
it's-
or wherever you're going.
You can hit
Reedsburg.
Omaha. When you hit Omaha, it's
Yeah,
like
that's
all
true.
right, but
Eight bets, 500. Two falls.
Monetti doing what he does best, picking up pots, uncontested pots.
413 down to 3, all guaranteed 40K, chasing the 88K up top. We've got John Word and Jason Beasley, Mike Manetti, wrapping up a great week here at Golden Gates Casino, the premier tournament card room in the state.
Jessica, have you ever driven out to Vegas from Florida or from Indiana?
Yes, I drove out to Vegas. The first time I drove out was October 2008 when I moved to Vegas. I had my car completely loaded down with my dog sitting in the front seat, and we drove out to Vegas to 29 hours. Drove straight through.
29.
I slept in the parking lot for a little bit at Walmart, but because I drove out by myself, I didn't really want to pull over anywhere. So yeah, I drove straight through, and then I drove from Vegas back to Indiana once. I drove from Vegas to Florida.
Ouch.
That one was really a long drive. One of my girlfriends, Ronette, and I drove, from Vegas to Tampa when they lifted the ban. We drove right out there. So, I've definitely made that trek. It's a long haul. It's exhausting.
I've done Wisconsin to Vegas. I want to say
You do that
6,
almost every
7
year,
times.
don't you?
No, I mean, because I lived in Vegas for a while and came back when I accepted this position with the MSPT. And then, so I drove out there. I don't remember. Yeah, 4, 5, 6 times I've done it.
How long is the drive from Wisconsin?
About 23 hours.
Jeez. Yeah. Anything over
it's
20
rough.
hours is pretty rough.
I'm at the point now where I don't want to really drive more than 6 hours. I mean, we drove more than 6 hours here, but that's for work, and it made the most sense.
And you're riding with someone else.
Right,
not
you're
like
riding
by
with somebody
yourself.
else. And
If it's daylight and I'm fresh, I can pretty much do 10 to 12 hours. But doing it overnight is tough. Because you have to concentrate so much more when it's dark out.
And when I play poker, like Chicago's a good market when I get to play, but it's a 4-hour drive, and it's nice to drive with somebody, but then you run into the problem of I bust the tournament right away, and my buddy's still in, and I'm just sitting there.
It happened all the time when I first started playing. Everyone would be like, "You ride at the casino together," and I'm like, "Yeah, but we, especially when you're playing tournaments, like someone busts and you're just stuck there, or if you're playing cash and then they go, they go broke and they want to leave and you're like, no, wait, no, I'm in a really good game. I don't want to get up yet." So the struggle's so real. When's your next time you'll be playing anything, Chad?
It's probably going to be a while, aside from tomorrow night's
Yeah.
nightly tournament. As far as anything serious goes, probably not till early next year. I think the WSOP circuit comes to Milwaukee, so I'll probably play a few events there. That's the worst part about my job is I don't get to play these MSPTs.
Yeah, no, I totally.
And I used to play quite a few of them before I worked.
You final tabled one.
I did, yeah. Back in season 4, I think it was, which was a long time
Who
ago.
won that one?
That was Josh Reichert.
Was it Reichert?
It was Josh Reichert, yeah.
Well, you were definitely the fish at that table.
Well, you're gonna see. We're going to $2 from the small blind. Bees is most likely to make this call.
Yeah, he's going to call here. He just looks at the ace and calls, and, well, let's see what happens. This is a big pay jump. This dealer doesn't like drama. Holy goodness, slow down, partner.
Nothing there for either player. Gut shot for Beasley, a 5 end it. So Worden going to need a king or a 3. He's got 6 outs to do it. 1 pull at it. And he does.
Oh, wow. Poor Beasley.
Yeah, you see him shaking his head.
He's like, how many of these hits do I got to take?
He got lucky on that other Jack 10, but he's taken so many bad beats today that I was kind of rooting for him.
Warden with 9 lives there, saved on the river.
How much?
And I like the enthusiasm. So many times I see somebody saved with a dramatic card like that, and they just, no expression, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I like it when somebody...
Yeah, he's excited. He's
Yeah.
pumped. That's a lot of money on the line.
I even don't mind it when I'm in Beasley's shoes. The only thing I hate is when they say sorry. No sorries in poker.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't? Yeah.
But Warden, you know, gets lucky to double there. He's still the short stack. He needs to find another gear here and catch some cards and start pushing the action a little bit.
Well, there you go. He picked up the suited ace-8. Well, looks like he might not get much resistance. He's going to lead out here.
And there he goes.
Yeah.
Gets himself over $1 million.
Problem is, for some reason I keep trying to win with the best team. Usually not my style. I've always figured poker's way easier to
Well,
get in the best
I've known Jessica for a few days now, and it's after 11 o'clock, so we've probably got her for another 28 minutes, and then,
I'm going to bed.
yeah.
It's funny. I've been on a poker schedule for so many years, which is like about going to bed.
I
like
don't
2,
even
3.
believe that
Hold on,
you
hold
play
on.
poker, because you're
Going
in
2
bed
to 3
every
in the
night
morning.
by 11:30.
Yes, but I spent the last week back home with my family, so I was going to bed every night by like 1. So and that's on East Coast time. So 11:30 here is 1:30 back home. I'm exhausted. And my flight's at 8. What time? Oh my gosh, gotta leave at like 6 or something.
At least.
Probably 5.
Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah, it's an hour drive in.
I don't like to get there more than an hour at a time. Luckily,
Long lines in Denver, though. It's a
Yeah,
hub.
I have-
Especially when the
Whoa,
Broncos
whoa,
were playing
whoa,
at
whoa, whoa.
home.
I have TSA pre-check.
Oh, she's smart. She's a smart travel poker player.
All right, so back to the action.
Yeah, they got it in.
Back to the most important thing.
Our premature dealer here, he can't hold it back. And Warden misses the open ender, so that's going to do it for him.
So Beasley finally able to finish off Warden. So John Warden out of Fisher, Minnesota, the farmer. His first MSPT cash, and he's going to take home $40K.
Yeah, not bad for 2 days worth of work.
So it looks like they're going to do a little bathroom break here. We will pick up the action in just a minute or two.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck to you. Nice meeting you.
The guy goes, I just got it from my bank. He was like an honest guy. I believe him. It's like, it kind of sucks if you're banking.
Big blind. You're small. You're small blind. Small. Yep. Okay, guys. Good luck. Congratulations. Eight raises to 450. 4 folds. Sorry.
The King 7. I'm glad you raised so much. Something seems fishy there.
Jason Beasley, Mike Minetti heads up here.
And if you were watching the stream through that break, you seen the clock was still going because you guys can do whatever you want. Go take a bathroom break when it's not scheduled, but that clock keeps going. We got to finish this thing tonight.
Yeah.
Look at this. What a nice flop for.
Beasley flops
the
it
nuts
straight.
Minetti gets some of it. Gets a piece of it as well. Heads up. It's actually not a terrible hand.
I agree. So Beasley's got to sit. I think if you're Beasley, you just call.
Yeah, especially heads up.
Yep.
And heads up and in position. Another 9 or 7 rolls off, and it could be a quick one.
4 re-raises.
See, I don't understand his raise here. Why would he raise?
And we see this quite a bit, actually. People, they I don't know if it's get gun shy or what have you. They want to protect their hands when they're overlooking the value that they can get in the next street.
So brutal. Because how often do you flop a straight?
It's like we see it a lot with amateur players, recreational players at the final tables when they get aces that they just
they like 5x or
Right.
something.
They care more about not getting them cracked than they
Exactly.
do maximizing value from it.
exactly.
Small, big.
I like Manetti. He keeps it light. He's always laughing, having a good time. Seems to be enjoying the moment.
I feel like I was just a blind.
And I'm not surprised to see it's these two heads up,
Yeah.
based upon what we've witnessed at this final table.
Oh,
The second half of this final table, maybe even a little more than that, has certainly been controlled by Manetti for the most part. Beasley's had a very up and down road. He's taken some tough beats, but has managed very well to accumulate some chips to be able to withstand those beats.
It's a good feeling.
There's actually two pretty strong hands.
Yeah,
Heads up
heads
play.
up.
We're raising to 250.
Right sort of flop here could be some fireworks. We say that all the time though, and then it comes
2,
deuce.
3,
Yeah.
2, 3, 7.
Yeah.
All hearts. Wow. Okay, so he's 3-bet to 600K. And
Four calls.
Beasley's gonna make the call.
And bingo for Manetti, 2 pair. Beasley picks up a gut shot. It's already 1.2 million in the middle. Yeah, he's gonna bet almost 80%. He bets 80% of the pot.
Can you get a Coke, please? Yeah. Can I get a water and then I'll take a water as well, please.
That I'll take a Coke, please. Is Pepsi okay? I just read something earlier today on Twitter, and it was, no, Pepsi's not okay. Her parents named her Pepsi, for goodness sake.
I don't
It's
get it.
just a big joke. Is Pepsi okay? No, she's not.
She's not okay.
Her parents named her Pepsi. Are you a Coke or Pepsi person, Jessica?
I would say, like, historically, I would say Coke, but to be fair, like, I very rarely ever drink soda. I've been drinking it here because they have these free little machines out here. They've been
Yep.
Yeah.
Fountain
they think the
machines.
death of me out here.
I
but
know.
I legitimately would never order soda. I love like juices and stuff like that. But how about yourself?
I've been a Coke person.
Yeah.
4 checks, 8 checks.
I like a good Diet Mountain Dew from time to time, but otherwise it's all Coke for me.
How about you, Brian?
Pepsi.
Yeah?
It's 400.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too spicy for me. I like the way Coke is
Say
smooth.
what? Never heard that
Yeah,
word
Yeah.
used.
Spicy
There's a bite
and
to it.
soda usually don't go together.
For instance, like cherry Coke, more mild. While a cherry Pepsi, spicy.
Now I like soda much more
That
out
doesn't
of
make
a.
any
It
sense.
makes 100% sense. What do you mean?
I prefer soda out of an aluminum can 10 times more than I do out of a bottle.
Oh yeah, for
A
sure.
20-ounce bottle.
Yeah, the
Now,
bottles
unless
are-
it's
the
a
bottles are
glass
terrible.
bottle, like an old Coke in a glass
Yeah.
bottle.
The plastic bottles are brutal, and they go flat before you can drink them sometimes.
So
I like fountain.
Whew, here we
some,
go.
lots of diamonds.
4 raises to 250.
Here comes a 3-bet. Any ace heads up is a strong hand.
8 re-raises to 600.
Yep.
And we've seen Beasley defend with a Queen 10 before. This time he's got position. I think he's going to call. Queen 10 suited is a good hand heads up. You want to see a flop. Ooh, it looks like he might want to. He's going to push back.
4 re-raises.
Let's see what Manetti does here. This is an interesting spot.
He does like the ace-8 of diamonds, as we saw earlier. He likes to flop a pair and fold it. But heads up, I can't imagine he. I don't know.
550.
That's a tweener there with ace-8 when somebody comes over the top of you like that, but for a 4-bet.
I mean, how many 4-bets have we seen in this tournament? At this
He
final
does
table,
have them
none?
2-1 in chips before this hand. It's tough to fold ace-8 suited heads up.
Yeah, that's what he owes, indicating he's thinking about a call here, but I'd like to see him dig deep.
Yeah.
Shove it here.
Yeah. I'm with you.
He's just
He's
going to
gonna
call.
call.
So we've got a 3.1 million chip pot here.
I don't think you were. Manetti wasn't looking. I would have liked to see Manetti look at Beasley when he made that call, because when he made that call, Beasley looked defeated. He was like, "Oh shit."
Well, I mean, Beasley has a third of the pot bet back, if that, and he misses there.
They
but
both
he
miss,
shoves
so-
it. He probably is going to take it here. Manetti doesn't get a piece of it.
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, if Manetti knew, he'd have this thing won. But
He could see his cards like we could.
yeah, it's a tough spot. You're gonna have to
And
fold that ace
with
eight
that, Beasley has the chip lead.
there. Aggression wins.
Yeah, aggression wins these things. And had Manetti been
There you-
aggressive
yeah,
with the
you're
ace
right.
8 and shove there, I guess Beasley probably pre-flop. I'm saying Beasley, I guess, has more than half a stack in there. Probably calls and says, "I'm already committed," and we don't know what runs out there. But Manetti had the best of it on the flop.
I mean, he can't know that, but when he watches this back on the recording, he's gonna be like, "Don't."
Yeah, especially
That
not
was
shoving
it.
pre-flop.
Yeah.
The flat there. So yeah, I'm gonna be out of here in a few minutes because I have to pack still. And now they're pretty even in chips, so hopefully there'll be some good play left.
Well, we've already went longer than the final table last weekend in Meskwaki. We played one hand at the 50, 100,000 level, and it was.
Well, here we go.
Well, this is going to be
Massive.
We're going to get it all in pre-flop here, and
Yeah,
it's most likely to
barring
be a
a
chop.
bad beat, it's going to be a chop.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because I said I was getting ready to leave. They're gonna put a bunch of hearts out.
So it needs to
Wow.
re-roll in for Beasley.
Wow.
That'd be so
A heart would give him a flush draw to the river,
want to win that.
I really don't want to.
and he doesn't. It's going to be a chop.
You have no idea how bad I would feel.
I'm happy that it went that way.
I don't
It's
wanna
depressing
win that way.
when you
That'd be
see,
so gross.
yeah, when you're in that spot and they four flush you.
It's one thing in a cash game.
Sorry, Mike. Have a nice day. I'll take the 29.
Adios.
So sorry, bro. So sick.
Make that up.
All right, we don't know what Beasley has yet. Manetti's going to fold, so it doesn't matter.
You know, this is one of the hands I've made the most money.
He had the best hand.
7-5.
Jack 3.
All right, I'm giving 5 more hands to see what transpires.
We
here.
are on hand. This is actually 3 shorter. We're on hand 124.
$15,000 WPT event, and then finished 17th.
Yeah, 5 more hands or the break, whatever comes first. I'm assuming 5 more hands in 12 minutes.
I shoved the dark under the gun because I was getting short on chips, and kings took 10 minutes to call. we were almost. I mean, it's a 15K seat, like. Call.
It's 250, yeah. 4 race 250, 8 calls.
All right. Queen 7, Queen 10. Queen on the flop. Could get ugly.
Wah wah. I think we need to invest in some sound effects for next season.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
Yeah. Some Curb Your Enthusiasm music. And
They got a straight.
I got foisted.
Accidental text on purpose.
Accidental text on purpose.
That's what I said. I got a
I fired out 4 of those today.
I picked up some extras.
The accidental text on purpose. But then I accidentally texted one of the accidental texters
So if we
that I
still
was
get
trying to accidentally text on purpose.
You accidentally just texted on purpose.
Yeah.
On accident. Wow. so confusing. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
There's probably a new episode out now too. When does it
Yeah,
come
it's
out?
Sunday
What-
night.
Sunday nights.
So
yeah.
really, I'm trying to leave and go back to the
Yeah, that's what I
Curve.
heard. It's all come. Hey, good read by me.
Yeah, for sure. He's like, wait, what day is it?
Yeah.
Curve day?
For those poker fans out there who also like Curb Your Enthusiasm, Eric Seidel was a background extra. I think it was in season 5 or 6, if I remember right. He, if I recall correctly, he won some sort of charity auction. The prize or the reward was to be in a scene of
Oh,
Curb Your
wow.
Enthusiasm. So they were in a restaurant, and Larry was talking to, I don't know if it was manager Jeff or somebody, but at the table right behind them is Eric Seidel speaking to
Oh, that's
somebody.
so cool.
That's awesome.
Eric's a super nice guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. Playing charity events with him. Actually, that's the only time I usually get to play in his ballpark.
Right.
Or in a tournament like WSOP, but not your random Tuesday. And what I like about him is he takes it serious no matter what he's playing. He's playing a charity event. He's like, still, focused in and.
So I think we might be closing in on a break. No?
Yeah. About 9
I guess we
minutes.
technically had a break, but
A break where the clock stops is what we're.
A scheduled break.
a scheduled break. Yeah.
What's the minimum bet?
100,000.
I mean, I prefer it's over before the break, so we don't have to, But
I was gonna try and bet 50, but
9 minutes, we can get a lot of hands in 9 minutes.
Another 100.
Well, with this dealer, you can get about 2x as many hands in.
Oh, we're playing 40 bigs deep heads up though. It's pretty solid. It's gonna probably take a cooler.
A cooler or a couple ace highs.
You're gonna break in 8 minutes, though, right?
I can hear the slots in the in the background here.
They're very
Whenever we-
popular here.
Yeah, whenever we're not talking, you can hear them.
Sorry, 250.
I know there's some people out there no doubt wondering what that bottle is on the table. That is a bottle of Kimosabi Mezcal, and yes, that is real. That is real booze in there,
Yeah.
not just water.
You can see it hasn't been opened yet. We're saving.
Wow.
We can't give out the bottles because we don't have a liquor license, and casinos frown upon that, so we can't give out a bottle of mezcal as a prize.
I'm telling you, feet, that hand's
So we're
full of
saving
feet
that
in
bottle
the
for
wall.
the end of the last event.
Yep. Margaritas in December.
Yep. So if you're there, we'll share some with you.
Sounds like a blind dating, a speed dating thing. Margaritas in December.
Sounds delicious.
Yep.
Double. Full. Oh. I'll play a lot of hands, but
Not that one, huh?
that
That's a stretch. It's just a hair outside of your range.
it is. Oh,
Race.
Raised 350. Four.
6 minutes, 30 seconds.
Jason Beasley, Mike Manetti, your final two.
The what?
Are you going to stick around to the end of the level? How about that?
I'm trying. I'm trying
6
to power
minutes.
through. It's 6 minutes. 11:30 is legitimately what time I've been falling asleep, so it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close.
If you would have made, this is going to sound, I don't want to say it now. I realize what I said. If you would have made it this far to 11:30 on day one, or
I've been trying to chop. We're trying to break the rules so I can go to sleep.
I guess we were done by 11 here. We had noon start times.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of our stops we don't start till 4 p.m. and so then we play till 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning.
Wow. Yeah. Which is great because you allow for everyone who has a normal job.
Right. On Friday nights, they get done at work at 5. They maybe only miss a level.
Yep.
2 levels.
So Beasley turns the open-ender.
That's 275.
I think we're going to see Minetti fold here.
I don't mind
Never say
it.
never.
Yeah, he's got a gut shot, and he might be thinking maybe my king is good here. Let me peel a card off for 275.
Yeah, he's got the best
Wow.
hand.
Yeah, he's gonna win it.
Beasley's
Easily shuts
giving up.
down.
Why didn't you?
We love to show each other.
You barely notched it
Love
at
to
the same
show.
time, but why didn't you get your 7? Why? I mean, I know what you were looking for. I have to find.
So they're playing 50K, 100K, 10K ante right now. What are they coming back to?
60, 120, and the ante will double to
Wow.
20K. All right, I'm gonna call it. It's gonna be 9 of spades, 9 of hearts on the flop.
Oh, wow, you're just spelling the doom right here.
This is it.
4 calls.
I can feel it in my bones.
Nope.
Such a good feeling you have.
It's hey, when it works though, when it hits, everyone's real impressed.
Yeah. I could see that.
That's 400.
I like Beasley just betting there, take it down. I like the aggression. The aggression that he's showing. That's the 4-minute countdown to the break, and also known as my bedtime.
What's that?
As I sit here yawning.
Well, I know that I appreciate you coming in here and taking some time
Yeah.
to chat with us and share some wisdom with the viewers, and no doubt exciting for them to have a player of your caliber. Also, while we have you for just a few minutes, I know yesterday was Veterans Day, and you yourself are a veteran, so thank you for your service and for spending it with us here, Veterans Day with us playing poker.
I
You're
mean,
welcome.
you probably can't think of a better way to spend it.
Definitely not. Definitely not. No, I mean, I'm super happy to be able to play poker, for a living. And being able to play on Veterans Day, just being able to be around people that actually appreciate you is really nice. So, yeah, thanks for the write-up you did. It means a lot. Because you don't get, you don't always get that, you're not always received too well. So.
Right. And you served, what was it, 2001 to 2007 in the Air Force?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I did a 6-year enlistment, and then I thought I might go back into intel or go back into the military at some point. So I wanted to get out. I had a honorable discharge. I didn't want to cut my nose off to spite my face and maybe make wrong decision. But
Right.
I thought let me just end this chapter, see how poker goes. I can always come back to it, and I just
Did you play poker at all when you were in the military? On
Oh, yeah.
base or?
yeah. Definitely. I was definitely one of the only chicks that was playing. But yeah, I would go to visit my friends, let's say like at Langley. They were stationed in Langley in Virginia. And there's pictures of us. There's like 3, we'd have like 3, card tables at the home game. And like, I'd be walking out with huge Ziplocs full of like, quarters because we were playing quarter 50 cent. So, crushing back then. But I played a ton of poker in the military. And while I was in college and in high school, I've always really loved the game.
How did you first learn it? Was it taught by your family or?
Yeah, my uncle. I was a huge tomboy growing up, so he would take me fishing a couple times a week, and every Thursday he had like a regular little home game, I think, and he taught me how to play like with pennies, penny ante, and I learned all the games, like 5-card draws, studs big where I'm from, baseball, rain out, Kokomo, Chicago, all those,
Yep.
crisscross high low. Those are all the games I used to play. So he taught me the game of cards more than the game of actual poker, but he got me interested in it. So definitely owe a lot to him.
Does
Steve.
Is he still around? Does he still play?
Yeah, he's still around. He's more like the man's man, like big into hunting, fishing. So he taught me how to fish. He owned a lake, so I would go fishing a few days a week, and then after fishing, he would taught me how to play poker. A good influence.
Different type of fishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking for fish.
Exactly. So yeah, he's still around. I just went fishing with my aunt and my uncle. Not this trip, but the last trip I was in town. I'm still a tomboy at heart.
Well, this could very well be the last hand of the level. See how long it takes here. Minetti with a suited ace.
Let's see if I was gonna say maybe this would be the
Beasley.
last hand of the tournament, but no.
Alright, let's play this hand really slow.
Looks like Beasley wants to take it to the break.
8 raises to 350.
Fine.
He's just waiting until the break happens, I think, right? Which is kind of funny. They shouldn't want to take it to the break considering their stack sizes. He should want to play as many hands as possible at this lower
Agreed.
level.
If you feel you have the skill advantage, but
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yes, I did.
And this one will be the last hand of the level.
yeah,
Thanks for having me out.
yeah. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. It's my
Think
first
we'll-
MSPT outside of
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah,
So.
I think we'll see you at some other ones in the future,
Yeah,
perhaps.
definitely. Like I said, like just being able to play with nice people is awesome. I'm looking forward to that again.
She's talking to you. Yeah. Call.
What a hand here.
8 raises to 400.
And that's gonna do it.
Yeah, so we're gonna head into the chip or into the break. Looks like Minetti up over 4.7 million, Beasley around 3.5, and yeah, we're gonna have a quick 10-minute break. We'll be back to see who we're gonna crown as the next MSPT champion here at Golden Gates.
120 and 20K in
Pat, this is the first main that I haven't taken, so I'm just sitting
What are we
to
at?
go out like
6120 and 20K
This
in
is the first main, like, of the mains for the HPT or CPT or that I haven't taken, like, gotten queen smashed by queen jack, like, on the bubble.
You've been smashed a lot. I really can't believe you're this time.
That's what you were just saying. He knows I even supposed to be here.
It'll be small blind here, big blind. for
Oh, no, you should have seen how many
120,000.
coolers I had this morning.
30 more.
20,000.
120 and 20.
I got ace queen, Bobby's got kings. I got nines against, I got nines, Tate has tens, I lay down nines. I got nines against kings. Like, it was all day long. And I like got rid of, I managed to like escape it all day. And then when I do get big hands, like my kings get cracked, my aces get cracked.
300.
Okay, so Beasley heads up in this tournament and complaining.
What?
Typical poker player.
That's one of the, that's disgusting.
He's
Okay.
So Minetti raises here. Beasley calls. Goes check, even though Beasley flopped an open ender. And he hits it there on the turn. He's locked it up no matter what card comes on the river. He has the nuts right now. Still does. But it's not going to get paid.
500 bet.
You don't have nothing there?
No.
I just got the nuts.
I got queen 4.
You just got the nuts. I got 9-7.
See, look. It's your hand, man. See, that's what I was talking about.
So you're at 79 is the year.
I've actually got that hand a lot since we started playing, so since I was like, calling you out, like, that was your hand.
20K in his guys, 20K.
What are we at?
60, 120 with 20K in.
Minetti must not plan on staying long because he's kept his coat on when he returned from break.
That's true. Probably went outside. It's been cold here, you know, not super cold, but
It's actually pretty nice for this time of year.
yeah, that's true. A little snow on the ground, but
And 8 checks.
so we got a limp, and we got a check in the option. Minetti flops the best of it, bottom pair. Actually, probably, yeah, figures it's good. If Beasley had an ace or a king in his hand, no doubt would have raised it pre-flop, so.
I wasn't calling either.
Kind of hard to do any write-ups at this pace, huh?
Beasley with a nice looking hand, Minetti not so much.
8
He's
calls.
still going to limp it.
3 raises, 420. 8 folds.
So yeah, next weekend we'll be at Potawatomi Casino in Milwaukee for the 2017 Wisconsin State Poker Championship.
Should be a good one.
It should, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. As I mentioned, I'm from Wisconsin, so it's one of the more meaningful tournaments for me. And it's actually been a long time since we've had the Wisconsin State Poker Championship, in that we had one last season,
Yep.
but it was early in the season. It was
In the spring.
Right, I think it was
Yeah.
in February.
Yeah.
And now it's changed locations to Potawatomi, and it's in the fall. So it's been a year and a half.
Yeah.
300,000.
Yeah, so the last champion got to hold it for a year and a half.
3 folds.
Yeah, and that champion is Andy Rubenberg. I'm sure he'll be there next weekend trying to defend that title, even though he's from Illinois.
Yeah.
And the year before that, the inaugural MSPT Wisconsin State Poker Championship was Ben Wyora, who's actually a buddy of mine. We actually lived in Vegas together for a while after his win.
Jason Beasley, Mike Minetti here heads up for the MSPT Golden Gates Denver Poker Open title.
3 folds. Or 8 folds.
King dude. Suited. Way ahead. Suited.
Beasley is not super dealer friendly. He likes to kind of chuck his cards around and his chips around. Not a big fan of that. I'd prefer he'd be a little...
And shout out to the dealers here this weekend.
Yeah, they handle it well.
Yeah. They're a good group of dealers they got here, run the games well.
Three folds.
So slow going here for the first 5 minutes coming back from the break. And a lot of heads-up play is just waiting for 2 players
Yep.
to wake up with 2 good hands.
I don't know why I'm getting tired. I can play. I am. 36 hours. I can play a 36-hour, 30-60 section.
8 raises 300.
So Beasley, pocket kings. Minetti, though, the one raising it up.
720.
3 raises 720.
Minetti going to fold wisely.
Flashes them the Cowboys.
Yep.
Minetti's still holding on to the chip lead, albeit very slim one. You can see their average stack, 34 bigs.
Pretty beautiful.
Small block.
I'm all in.
Raised.
Queen 10 for Beasley. We've seen him play this hand on a couple occasions. Minetti's going to defend with a weaker 10 here, 10-5 suited.
We've been going at this final table, closing in on 4.5 hours now.
3 bets, 450, 8 folds.
On the continuation bet, going to get the job done.
Stacks are pretty even here, heads up.
There it is. Doesn't get much more even than that.
Nope. So Minetti had a nice little chip lead when they got just before the break. That's been dwindled down.
Buttons on 8. Big button 8. Yep.
Nettie has been looking down at some ugly cards as of late and just gives that one up.
We're all out of stories at this time of the night, so we're just going to
Yeah,
watch
I
these
mean,
two
it's-
play. There's not much to say.
Yeah, it's hard to. We just had Jessica Dolly here telling us some good stories, telling us about her military career. It's hard to top that, you know.
Three calls. 8 checks.
You're going to see a flop here, a limp by Beasley. Minetti checks his option.
8 checks. 3 checks.
Nothing there for either player. Goes check, check.
3 bets on it. 8 calls.
And Minetti, I guess, just going to be trying to boat up here.
8 checks.
Queen high.
3 checks.
Queen's
I
good.
just figure my queen high is good there. Value bet.
Westminster, is that right?
Thornton, Denver. Well, actually, it's Denver.
Big blind.
Minetti looks a little tired over there. Tired of looking at garbage lately. He had a pretty good run through the final table, though, with cards.
8 folds.
Double.
Which ones?
Yeah.
Butter's good.
Butter. I'm playing too much blackjack. That hand looks good to me.
You're all about it. You're like, got it. Easily double his bet.
Once again, Beasley looking down at a quality hand here. Heads up, Minetti.
3 calls. 8 checks.
Not much, but he's going to get to see a free flop because Beasley slow plays that big slick suited.
Yep.
And he might regret it here. Minetti flops the open ender.
8 bets 400,000.
Beasley with a backdoor diamond draw. There's a lot of cards on the turn that can help his hand. Obviously, an ace or king is an immediate outs, but a diamond or a 10 or a queen would be a good card for him.
The suspense on the turn here didn't help either player.
8 bets 400,000.
It's going to be hard for Beasley to continue here. It didn't help his hand.
3 calls.
He does call it though. He's going to rely on his ace king being good.
Oh, and he gets there.
Yeah, now he's for sure calling any bet here on the river. See if Minetti shuts it down or takes another bluff at it.
If he's all in.
Wow. Wow,
That's such a bizarre bet in this spot too.
So he's essentially representing that he has hearts, trip fours, or even a full house, thinking that, trying to represent that maybe Beasley made that flush.
Oh,
Yep.
flush?
Yeah.
He calls.
I thought I played that really bad.
Wow, what a game-changing pot that was right there.
That might be it, right?
Was Minetti the shorter stack? They're going to count it down here.
So a bizarre finish to this tournament. And
That's it? Wow. Yeah, I didn't...
Beasley's going to take it down, I guess. He is your 2017 Denver Poker Open champion here at Golden Gates Casino. And we got to get out of town, so we're going to get out there, assuming he did win. Looks like that, to take a picture and hit the road. Thanks for coming out. Thank you so much for Golden Gates. We'll see you at Milwaukee next week. Brian Molesky, Chad Holloway signing out. Thank you.